gentlemen, you are most welcome to this examination workshop. And I will thank you so much for honoring our invitation, spend the time to reach here in time, irrespective of jam. As a norm, I request that we start the workshop with an opening prayer. I request Professor Barnabas Washasha to take us through the Word of God. Thank you so much.
So I'm on how to try a non-denominational prayer. So you may close your eyes if you must, but let's pray. Am I audible, Sam? Yes. Lord God, Father, we thank you for this morning. We thank you for bringing us here safely. We thank you for our lives and for taking care of us. We are all in good health, otherwise we wouldn't be here. We thank you for the work we do, for giving us employment and work in the various places where we serve this country and we serve you. Help us to deliberate very fruitfully and peacefully, guide our discussions, bless everything we are going to have here, the food, the drink, and the water, and everything. We ask that those who are still joining us, you give them journey mercies to come here. In your name, we commit everything. Amen.
Thank you so much, Prof, for leading us into the word of prayer. Once again, my name is Samson Tweheyo. I'll be taking the house into all the sessions regarding this dissemination workshop. I have a feeling most of us have registered. In case you haven't registered, we can reach out where you're seated and we'll ensure that we're all registered. Today we have two workshops in one. The first session being the solar pump irrigation project, which will take us up to lunchtime. And the second session will be the soil health survey. And that will be the session that will take us throughout the afternoon time. We have the agenda, and having done with the prayer, next on agenda will be introductions. We need to know each other, and we'll make it brief as we introduce ourselves. Just mention your names and perhaps the organization that you work with for now. For our dear farmers, you mention your names and perhaps the district where you're coming from. Thank you so much. And I request that we respect time. And for the interest of time, I request that we start a set of introductions. My name is Samson Tweheyo. Once again, I am the moderator for this workshop or dissemination workshop. You're most welcome. We have a mic. Perhaps we can start where the mic is. And we move clockwise and clockwise. Thank you so much.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kanare Williams Bogere. I'm the commercial manager in charge of market systems development at Tulima Solar. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rosemary Emegu Isoto, Head Department of Agribusiness and Natural Resource Economics, Makerere University.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Inid Katunji. I'm the country representative for the Alliance of Bioverse and SEAT, but I'm also an agriculture economist who's been doing research in impact assessment. So my presence here, I'm here as an economist. Good to see you all.
Morning, everyone. I'm Doreen Sime. I'm a farmer from Kamwenje district.
Good morning. My name is Bernard Bashasha. I'm from Makere University. I'm a teacher and a researcher. Dennis.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm called Dennis Tishekwa, and I worked with HDS when we were working on the study. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ibrahim Kasango. I'm an engineer with the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Babide Grace Nakakawa, an MSc student of agroecology from Uganda Matters University, Ngozi.
Good morning. I'm Semakula Joseph. I'm the center leader for the Center for Agroecology and Livelihood Systems, Uganda Matters University.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Alfred Kamanyere, Production Officer, Kamwenge District.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Naboth Awodi. I'm an agriculture engineer with Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tigamushka Julius. I'm the Managing Director, Fat Plus Organic Limited. We import and distribute Fat Plus organic fertilizers from Holland. Fat Plus is food for all plants. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Blaise Amon is my name, Program Officer, Capacity Development at AFRICANA.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Julius Rukara. I work with the Kase District Law Government as Agriculture Officer.
Good morning, everyone. Great to see so many of you coming for these events. My name is Claudia Ringler, and I'm with the International Food Policy Research Institute. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. My name is Bianca Issa Hassan. I'm the Disk Production Office of Pianova District Government.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Kariagira Lawrence, a farmer from Wakiso.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Asimwe. I work with Vertunga Healthy, Uganda. I'm from 3 places. One is Kampala at country office, where I work as a policy advocacy officer in water and environment. The second place where I come from is in Yumbe, where we are doing interventions under motorized water supply schemes. And the last place is Karamoja and the Teso region, where we do interventions under food systems. Thank you very much.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Onesimus Semaruru. I work for NARO, and I'm representing my director, Kawanda. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Bo. I work with IFPRI, based here in Kampala. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Engineer Beka Kalema Haji. I work with Water and Energy Solutions Uganda Limited. Water and Energy Solutions Uganda Limited is one of the biggest contractors implementing partner with UGIFT project. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Baguma Cyprian. I'm a farmer from Rukonjiriji district.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Moses Odeke, and I work for an organization called Soreka. We are based in Entebbe. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Peter Mwewesa. I'm a coffee farmer from Rukonjiri.
Good morning. I'm called Ibirot Julius. I'm an agriculture extension officer from Kumi District Local Government.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Misango Michael Davis, agronomist, Kakila Sugar Limited.
Good morning, Triho. I'm Kiza Charles Ruswata, working for the Rams. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Senabuya William. I'm a farmer from Mukono District.
Hello, good morning. Edgar Twine, Associate Principal Scientist at the Africa Rice Center and Country Representative in Uganda. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Selek Abdenaf. I was part of the data management team during the study.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Doreen Kimgisha. I'm part of the HDS team that was part of the data collection fieldwork.
Good morning. I'm Engineer Godfrey Ashakimana. I work with the Ministry of Water and Environment.
Good morning. I'm Shine Chokshawa. I work with the Springtech Limited, one of the partners in the micro-scale irrigation as the projects manager.
Yeah. I hope we have all introduced ourselves. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the set of introductions. As other members stand in, we'll keep having an interlude of set of introductions, story by story, as we move on with today's program. Briefly, allow me take you through today's program. We are done with the first session of set of introductions, registration. Like I said before, this is a dissemination workshop for the solar pump irrigation scheme, as they want to take us through in the first session. Then in the afternoon, we shall have the soil health project. And all those projects are coordinated by NARO and IFPRI. IFPRI is International Food Policy Research Institute, AFRICANA, which is Agriculture Policy Research Center, Makerere University. Thank you so much, and you're most welcome. Briefly, allow me, before I invite the second presenter, allow me make some small remarks. If anyone wants to use the washrooms or the toilets, just move out straight, turn on your left. The first entrance on your right is for men, then the second one is for ladies. It's very important for us to know where we can make calls from. Secondly, as we start our workshop, I request that we respect time management. It's my humble request that if you are given 15 minutes to present, let's use 15 minutes to ensure that we finished our workshop in the scheduled time. Thirdly, it's my humble request that we put our phones in silence so that we don't disrupt the presenters. And perhaps lastly, we all pay attention, because at the end of presentations, we shall have open discussion, and I request that we all get involved in the participation. We react to what the presenters have presented to us so that we have action points. We have positive results regarding the implementations of the two projects. Without wasting time, allow me to welcome a representative from IFPRI, Dr. Baho, to take us through the next session. Thank you so much. His name is Botanical, so first then. Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Sam, I hope I won't be the first person to breach rule number 2, timekeeping. It's a disclaimer. Thank you, Sam. And good morning, everyone. And let me take this opportunity to welcome you all to this important dissemination workshop where we are going to share the findings of the 2 key research work that we're doing. But before I go further, let me recognize the presence of our mother ministry, represented by the commissioner, who is standing in for the minister. I would also want to recognize my Prof. Bashasha. Thank you for being such a role model in agricultural research. We don't know you as from Makerere, but as a top researcher in Uganda. I also want to recognize our research partners. And most importantly, I think we always forget that our farmers are the key research partners. We take them as beneficiaries of our research outputs, but they are the key research partners. I want to recognize those who are present here and all the farmers that they are representing. You know, our farmers are the unsung heroes, not only in Uganda, but everywhere globally, because we are here because of the farmers. They feed us. Let me also recognize the presence of our CG colleagues here and all the other research partners that we have here. I will single out Dr. Claudia, who is leading the work. Dr. Claudia is the director for the Natural Resources and Resilience unit at IFPRI. And I relate a lot more to her work because natural resources management and sustainability are at the heart of my work. I value that because she is leading the custodian of our future, because without taking care of natural resources, we don't have a future. So this work is sitting right in there at the center of what we want to do for ourselves sustainably and what we want to prepare for the future generations, because we can't produce without sustainably looking after our natural resources. I think the kind of research work and results that we are going to be sharing here today speak directly to the importance and centrality of responsible management of natural resources, the responsible use of fertilizers, the responsible use of sustainable energy in the form of solar energy. I think IFPRI and many other research partners have become like the household support name of the African Union. And we all probably know about the African Union's clarion call on the responsible use of fertilizers and soil health. So I think we are going to see a lot of that from this research work. We continue to value and thank the government of Uganda for hosting the CG centers, IFPRI in particular, because we can't do our research from the moon. we have to have somewhere to sit. So the government of Uganda, by hosting us, thus enabling us to contribute to the work that we do here. Actually, when I look at our partnership with the government of Uganda, Makerere University, and narrow within the government of Uganda in particular, the other development partners, all I see is a very intentional drive to support the people of Uganda to produce food in a more sustainable way. President Museveni always say, even a fool can survive in Uganda because of the abundance of food and natural resources. But to be honest with you, we need to take good care of those natural resources. And such research actually bring in a valuable piece of evidence that can help us to continuously review, modify our policies to make sure that the food production policies, strategies, and programs are sustainable and can also be there to support the future generations that we are also contributing to. I think in terms of collaboration, you would see that this research was actually led by a host of many partners who are sitting here. And that collaboration in itself doesn't only enhance ownership of the results, but I think that kind of collaboration is more important now than ever before. We all know what's happening with the funding across research, across agriculture is dwindling. And the only better way of utilizing the dwindling resources, particularly in research, is to collaborate and avoid or limit duplication or limit localized, what I would call Mickey Mouse kind of research in small corners by individuals that do not really go far in terms of informing policy. So this collaboration to me is so important. And thanks again, Dr. Claudia and your team for putting together such a collaboration. Besides, I think when everyone here is contributing to that kind of research, yes, it's just not ownership. It's just not the correct use of limited resources. But I think it enhances the generation of homegrown research solutions that can inform our policies, because we do not want a situation where some guys come from wherever they are, they do their research, they give us the results, and they expect us to inform the policy. I think what we are doing is exactly the way to go, and I really applaud all of you for such collaboration. Let me not breach SAM's rule number 2 and end by inviting everyone to engage robustly, not with the researchers, but with the results. Let's engage with the results, interrogate them, and see how best they can help us to inform policy. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. And actually, that's my first tip. Thank you for the remarks that were actually timely. We appreciate, and I will not summarize your speech or your remarks, but maybe one comment. Thank you for organizing all the participants and the other working partners, but most of all, recognizing and appreciating our farmers who are at the center or is at the center of our research work. Thank you so much, farmers, for being part of this dissemination workshop. And next on agenda, we shall have 2 presentations. Then we have a coffee break. We shall have some change on the timetable. But the next to speak is Dr. Claudia regarding the background. Then we shall have remarks from IFPRI, and we have a coffee break. You're welcome, Dr. Claudia.
Yeah. Thanks again to everyone for coming out here today to learn in the morning about our impact evaluation of the Uganda micro irrigation initiative, and the afternoon we focus on soil health. So just as a background, and next slide, please. So, why is Africa focusing on irrigation now? You might all be aware that earlier this year, there was the big launch, of the renewed CAADP strategy for agriculture growth in Africa under the African Union Commission. So this happened here in Kampala, the Kampala Declaration in January. And in fact, if you ever have time to read the updated strategy, you will find irrigation everywhere. So the irrigation is also written explicitly, pretty much, in all sections of the document, but it also fits, actually irrigation is needed to achieve pretty much all of the CAADP goals that the African Union and all member countries, including Uganda, have signed up to for the next, I think, 10 years. And so I actually have to walk over. But so there's sustainable production. So there's sustainable food production, and you need irrigation for that. There's also food security and nutrition. And again, you cannot achieve food security and nutrition if you don't also have water security. And the big component of water security is actually irrigation. There's also a section on climate resilience, dealing with adverse climate change impacts. And again, you cannot handle addressing adverse climate change impact if you don't also deal with irrigation, if you also don't consider irrigation. And then obviously you also need governance. You need food system governance. And so that means you actually also need water governance, and you need water institutions to be able to meet the CAADP goals. And so basically, I think it's very interesting that the Kampala Declaration was launched here, but at the same time, the government has decided to embark on a strategy to accelerate irrigation development in the country. And the micro irrigation program is just one piece of the overall government goal to ensure, that we have more rapid agriculture growth. But it is a very important piece. And in the afternoon, we talk about soil health, which is another important piece. Next slide, please. So this, the first graph showed you the overall theory of change under the CAADP strategy. And here I just pulled out some of the key areas that explicitly calls for irrigation to achieve the CAADP strategy. So the first one is for the strategic objective 1, the intensification of food production. As I've already mentioned, it explicitly asks for the adoption of smart agriculture water management solutions, to ensure efficient and equitable use of the continent's water resources. Strategic objective 3, as I've mentioned, on food security and nutrition, specifically calls for nutrition sensitive interventions. And because there's a lot of research out there that shows that if you irrigate, you're more likely to produce vegetables and fruits, which are under-consumed on the continent. And we also use irrigation water to actually support livestock production, to water livestock. In some parts on the continent, we are also irrigating pasture with irrigation water. So it also helps to increase the consumption of animal source food. So basically, irrigation is an explicit nutrition intervention. Next slide. Oh, it was one before, I think. Yeah, so strategic objective 4, as I've mentioned, equitable livelihoods, they actually call the strategic objective on equitable livelihoods calls for increased investment in irrigation infrastructure, also other infrastructure, but irrigation is explicitly mentioned to achieve Objective 4 of the CAADP Declaration. And then I've already mentioned climate resilience, where they specifically suggest to focus on efficient irrigation systems. And I think a lot of these irrigation systems that are being built with the tanks, solar powered irrigation, but there are other systems with sprinkler, et cetera, I think directly supports achieving this goal under CAADP. And the final one on governance, it's very important, for ministries responsible for water and irrigation to come together with the ministry responsible for agriculture, also Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, to ensure that water resources are being used sustainably and equitably. So again, also to achieve that particular CAADP strategic objective 6, we have to really bring the water resources in. Next slide. So now just, 1 or 2 slides. Why are we interested in solar powered irrigation? Of course, there's a lot of other irrigation happening on the continent, but solar powered irrigation is a relatively new technology that is growing much more rapidly compared to other forms of irrigation, because large-scale irrigation takes a long time to construct. There's a lot of environmental sustainability and other assessments to be done. It's very difficult to get the resources. And then, of course, we also have diesel, petrol-based pumps, irrigation. They have some challenges in terms of emissions from diesel and petrol, but also obviously changing cost structures, whereas with solar pumps, while the initial investment is expensive, once you have the technology installed, you don't have to continue to pay variable costs apart from some operation and maintenance costs. And obviously the other reason of why this technology is growing rapidly in Africa is the potential, solar irradiation potential is very large in Africa. You can see it's much higher than, for example, in Europe, where you simply don't have as much sunshine, as many hours. And so the effectiveness and the electricity production is much lower in Europe compared to Africa. Next slide. So we have already, for the last 15 years, we have worked on assessing the potential of solar-powered irrigation in Africa, looking at different crops, looking at different groundwater depth, because obviously if you have to pump from deeper, the cost, your solar panel has to be larger, so the investment cost has to be larger. You can combine it with drip, or you can just apply the water differently. And of course, also with climate change, the need for the size of the solar panel is changing. So we have done some of these assessments, and we compared the cost effectiveness of solar powered irrigation compared to diesel powered irrigation across the continent. And then we calculated how much does a watt peak, what should be the cost for solar to be more profitable than diesel irrigation. And this is the result here. So where the cost, so for example, if the cost is, so the areas in red, for example, Nigeria, the solar watt peak has to be $1.05 or less. Okay, great, thanks. So in Nigeria, because they have or used to have a high subsidy for petrol pumps and diesel pumps, so for them to adopt solar powered irrigation, the solar panel cost has to be extremely low. Okay, so that's why it's in red, because they have subsidies that are actually supporting other pumps, so non-solar pumps. In areas where it's more like yellow and green, so the solar panel cost can be much higher, and it's still more profitable to use solar panels as compared to, for example, diesel-powered irrigation. And we also have this information online for all countries, and you can zoom in where for which crops and also for which irrigation technology, it's more profitable at a certain solar cost to either go for solar irrigation or for diesel irrigation. So this is just on the side, an overview. And I think this might already conclude my introductory presentation. Can you check if there's another slide? Oh yeah, sorry. In addition, yeah, we also did some life cycle cost analysis, assuming that these solar powered systems operate for 25 years. Of course, it really depends on the quality of the pump and the quality of the panels that you purchase. And we have experts here, I think, who know much better. And then, but the big question always is, of course, if I buy a diesel pump or I buy a solar pump or petrol pump, you know, how much do I have to invest? And here, so this calculates over 25 years how much you have to invest. And for Ghana, here we calculated about $15,000 per hectare. So this is quite expensive. That is because the solar panel there still is quite expensive and accounts for about 50% of the total investment cost. The other important cost is the borehole. So if you actually still have to dig a well to go with your solar system, so that obviously increases your total lifetime cost. And that very much depends on, you know, the depth of your groundwater, right? So in Ghana, the share of this cost is actually quite low. We have done it also an assessment for Mali, where you have to dig much deeper to find sustainable water yield for solar irrigation. Anyway, those are some of the important components that have to be considered when you want to move ahead with solar-powered irrigation to support the CAADP implementation, but also national plans on accelerating irrigation development, which Uganda has. And this kind of solar system is actually the same that you can find in Uganda. So if you go into rural areas, and we have several farmers here that have, I think, purchased a solar irrigation system, and maybe, yeah, their system might look quite similar. So thanks. These were just my introductory remarks, and we'll go much more into detail into the situation in Uganda later. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Claudia, for giving us that background. I can, in summary, say the bottom line is to have sustainable food security in Africa. Thank you so much. Allow me to invite the second presenter from AFRICANA, led by Professor Barnabas Bashasha. Then after his presentation, we shall have a coffee break. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Prof.
Have some slides there. So Sam, I can't control my slides, control me from there.
And in case, Prof, you want to move as you present, there is a mic there. There's another microphone. You can.
You want me to hold this?
In case you want to move closer, something like that, you can use that on its own.
Okay, so my name is Bashasha, and I think I've already been introduced. I decided to take the liberty and talk about AFRICANA in my remarks. And mine is not a technical presentation like the one of Dr. Ringler, which you have just heard. You can treat it like an interlude. When you are watching TV, there is a commercial. So this is a commercial about AFRICANA. That's how you should probably look at it. So these days they call me ED. I'm not used to that as yet, but I'm trying to be the executive director of AFRICANA. But I teach at Makerere University. I think I know most of the people in the room. But if you want to call me ED, that's okay. That's a good addition. Sam, rule number 2, 10 minutes is what I have. So let me have the next slide. The next slide is really to underscore the problem you already know. The lawyers say for the avoidance of doubt. So Dr. Claudia already talked about issues with productivity and the need for irrigation. So this is just to remind you that yes, the problem is real. Agriculture still contributes large, both GDP and exports, and in terms of employment, we still have, I always say we have people stuck in the agriculture sector. There are very many people who are there actually who wouldn't like to be there if you gave them an alternative. So it may not be fun. 68 is still too high. A number of challenges still persist, and low productivity is critical. I think that's where we are zooming today, because solar powered irrigation and the other initiatives we are going to be looking at in terms of soil health are meant to tackle largely that, but the yield gaps are huge. You all know already that. And there have been policies. My colleague, Dr. Wiza, will be sharing some of these policies in the afternoon. We have another presentation. And you will see that we are not short of policies. And many of you are policymakers and you have participated in those policies. Implementation, I don't know. Impact, I don't know. But the problem still persists. And from our angle, our space, where we think we need a contribution, is that policies exist and policies are formulated, but we don't think adequate evidence is being used in the formulation, implementation, and evaluation. And that's where we think there is a gap. Who do I point to, Sam? You are writing. Next slide. Okay, when I say next slide, I think. Okay, so basically, we have a quotation here that underscores the problem I've just talked about, that to have good policies, you can't avoid evidence. You can't just sleep and wake up in the morning and say, I dreamt we need to do this, and then you go ahead as a policymaker and implement that. No, we need some evidence to inform whatever we are planning to do and intending to do and tracking to do. So this is basically about that. Next slide, please. So there comes the heart of my commercial about AFRICA. The AFRICA stands for Agriculture Policy Research Center. Most of you know about AFRICA. So just remove E and put A, and then we are good to go. So we are complementing, of course, working hand in hand with, next slide, please, with AFRICA. AFRICA, as you know, occupies the broad economics, macroeconomic space, and we are occupying the micro space, especially in the agricultural and environmental areas. So we launched this. Some of you were at the launch. I think so. Inda, I don't know whether you were there or whether you dodged, but I think we had invited you in February this year. So it's a new outfit. We are located in the the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences at Makerere University in the Department of Agribusiness and Natural Resource Economics, and my head of department is in the room. She introduced herself. So if you have very many questions, I think you can ask her those questions that I will not have touched on. We are no, you are too quick. We are autonomous think tank, and we intend to really provide support evidence-based policy making in terms of providing recommendations. So our job is to access the data sets, look into them, interrogate them, and get information, and then hopefully convince you policymakers that this information is useful, and then hopefully you consider it wise to integrate it in the policymaking process, as I said, across the entire policymaking value chain. We don't work alone, we work with Apex. Apex is in the State House, in the President's office. It's really an outfit that is seated there for guiding, providing policy support to the government, and we inform and work with them very closely. And AFRICA is the continental-wide Policy Research Institute, Africa Network for Agricultural Policy Research Institute. So we are just one of the many of them. I don't know how many there are. Ask that to my head of department. I think she knows the number. Next, please. Again, I have alluded to much of what you see here on the slides. To bridge the policy research gap, we think there is a rift between the policy making and the policy information, and we think we need to build a bridge across that, and that's what we intend to do. One of the activities we intend to do. We build capacity. We think capacity needs to be replenished over time. Some of us are growing and aging. I can see someone, so he used to be very young, but he's coming closer to me. So we need to be training more younger people to come on board and also probably even retool those who are already in the system. So that's about capacity building. And we're best empowered to do that because that's really what we've been doing for a long time at the university. And then empower government and other stakeholders with actionable insights into policy making, as I have already said. Next slide, please. So that is our central primary objective. Of course, we have too many other sub-objectives, as some of you probably already know. We conduct, coordinate, disseminate, rigorous. That's very important. Objective research to really best inform policy and provide policy solutions to some of the problems that still bedevil for the agriculture sector that I alluded to. The vision closely linked with the objective and of course the CAADP processes that Dr. Ringra talked about. Increased use of research evidence in policy making is basically what we see happening at the end of the day. Next slide, please. We have a 5-step or 5-point methodological or approach of how we think things need to happen. We can't do this alone, so we need partners. I've already talked about APEX and IFPRI and IFPRI, but government MDS, ministries, departments, and agencies are critical. Research, we integrate research and outreach and capacity building, the elements I already alluded to in the previous slide. Policy analysis, that is basically, maybe it's not by mistake that it is in green and in the center. That's basically where we think we make a contribution. That's why we think we have a comparative advantage really in policy analysis. So you have a problem, you need to know how it might work out and what you need to do, then you come to us and we work together and we have the tools and the knowledge, we hope, the analysis, to do the analysis to inform that. We recognize the decentralization and disaggregation all the way now planning is at parish level. So we think policy making transcends the national level and trickles down up to even LC1 level. Even LC1 chairpersons and policy makers. Regional, again, we recognize that we don't live in an island. The East African region, the COMESA, the continental policies, all of those, we keep an eye on them. So those are kind of like quickly the methodological approach to that we take. I think the slide is going to be available. Next slide, please. This is our theory of change. At the bottom is what we think we can touch. At the very top is what we think we can see happening. So these are the things I've already talked about. We intervene in capacity building, support MDS, strategy formulation, outreach, policy engagement, visibility, all those elements down. The base could be bigger, but we just picked out those that we think stand out. And looking at the chain, then we have outputs, which we say increased usage of evidence, enhanced communication channels. The bridges I'm talking about have been built, the gaps have been closed. Then we also capacity building improves the analytical and technical capacity. And then we see the outcome, which we think is the improvements in agriculture and food systems. And then up there, impact, where many other players also make a contribution, is where we have sustainable, inclusive, and resilient agricultural and food systems. So that's kind of like a quick recap of how we think what we do eventually impacts what we see and what everybody would like to see at the end of the day. Next, please. These are the strategic thematic areas, largely 4 of them. We think we can't do everything at the beginning. So we think the area number 1 of focus would be poverty, health, and food and nutrition security. Agricultural transformation, that's where the productivity issues and institutions and markets come in. Natural resources, you have already been told about the importance of natural resources, so I don't have to overplay this. And then we recognize the cross-cutting, the gender, the youth, the digital agriculture, where we are doing lots of digitalization. because they are saying we need to make, is it agriculture what for the youth? I forget the word. Sex is a little bit tough. Cool, yes, thank you. We need, we need to make agriculture cool. And I think technology makes it cool for the young people in the room. Some, I don't know how I'm doing with time, but you know, I like talking. Next, I'm about to get out of here. These are the strategic priorities going forward into 2030. If you, the next 5 years, if you will, we think we will continue with strengthening evidence-based policy research, enhance stakeholder engagement, and this is one of them. We're already engaging with you, so whether you want it or not, by the time you leave this place, you will know that people talked about AFRICANA. Capacity building, again, these ones will be, my colleague will be talking about some initiatives that are working on this one. Innovation and climate resilience, that's again some research area we're engaged in. Institutional growth partnerships, that should be ongoing. Agricultural market development and value chain competitiveness, we have studies that are looking into this area. Strengthening data designs, digital innovations, and others, again, that's an area we are looking at. So, but if you have an area you want us to look at and it is missing here, then you let us know. We are ready to jump into any pool, as long as it is not too deep. Next, please. This is a snapshot of what we are currently touching, in addition to the other things we are doing. So there is the Africa Agriculture Adaptation Atlas AAA. We'll be having hands-on training on this. And I think this is online. Dr. Wiz, I hope we'll be talking about this a little bit in the afternoon. If not, you ask Dr. Wiz, she's there in the corner next to my head of department. She's the one leading our activities on this one. Then economic analysis of climate resilience practices in livestock production. That's an area we are working on. The importance of livestock is coming up. Actually, climate resilience is enhanced from what we are seeing when you combine livestock and crops, mixed cropping. I used to know that when I was, I think, in year 1 of BSc Agric, and it is still true. I think that livestock combines very well with the crops, and they are now being proved to enhance climate resilience. Competitive assessment of exports, I've already told you that we are looking at some value chains in that area to guide Ministry of Trade and others. Policy reviews, and we are looking at the domestication of the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan. We had a meeting at the Sheraton where we did a lot of this work, and there are additional activities that are to follow in terms of actual domestication of this continental-wide plan. Next, please, I think probably last but one. This is a snapshot of the stakeholders and the areas of engagement. So we tease out who we think are critical stakeholders, and then under each of them, we highlight the areas of engagement. I won't run into this because I think I'm running out of time. So, but you can always have this and if you think there are gaps, we are ready to fill those gaps, and the pages, we can have more pages down, but probably not across. Vertically, we can go. Horizontally, I'm not very sure. Yes, next. Thank you. So that's AFRICANA. If you come to CAES, many of you left when it was the Faculty of Agriculture. We changed things, and it's now the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. You can find us there. I forget the room number, but I will remember by the time I leave here. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the remarks. I'll make a small summary of what he said. As AFRICANA, they have made policies. However, they see a gap in the implementation and evaluation of those policies, which is very critical. We shall get to discuss more about that. In the meantime, for those of you that have just stand up, you're most welcome to this dissemination workshop. Next on agenda is a coffee break. We shall go for tea, and let's use utmost Okay, 15 minutes coffee break. Then after that, we shall hear from the coordinator or a representative of UGIFT. He's already around. Thank you so much. We have our tea right in the corner.
We needed to guide those farmers. You know, when you are irrigating, you must be having a plan, not just doing irrigation for the sake. So we needed to sensitize more the farmers on the agronomy. So what enterprise are you going to irrigate? And what could be the maybe the impact or the output after? And also the use of the equipment. And this is where we, these equipments, after some time, there's some of them get faulty. So we needed to have that O&M aspect throughout. So it has been a challenge, but we are really trying to address it because now that's really the way to go, because now we have a vast of equipments countrywide, and so we need to have that these equipments are managed. And in this, we have tried to, for all these challenges, we have been trying to address them. And but here we will try to train the community irrigation technicians within the community to see that they maintain the equipments for the farmers. Then the limited local suppliers and technicians to provide technical support in O&M for the beneficiary farmers. This is in line with the bullet number 4. Then the real challenge we have interfaced in this program is the unavailability and unreliable water sources in some regions. For the farmer to benefit in this program, he or she must have developed a water source, and that is a cost. And the way our country is, there are some regions which don't have those water sources. So it became really expensive for a farmer to faster maybe drill or develop a water source. And for those farmers who didn't really have the capacity, they were really left out and they could not benefit because they could not have the water sources. Then, yes, only 5 minutes. There was a delayed reporting and entry of data into the management information system by the local governments. And they are here, and we have kept on reminding them on this. We have a software where we upload all the data, and that's what we use for any tracking. So, and for us, when we want to see how a district performs, we just go to the MIS and we see how many farmers and all the other parameters we are looking at. Then the last one, security of farmers' equipment is an emerging concern. Theft, you all know that when all these systems are just displayed there, there's no way you can fail to have these people who want to take things for free. So it has really been a challenge, and this we have, our address on this is let the farmers provide their own security, because we can't be everywhere. So it's up to the farmer. And most of these water sources are in valleys. So some of them are at a distance from where the farmer is. So that security aspect is now left to the farmer, but it is still a challenge. We have to record it. So we have had a number of interventions, a communication strategy, where we have come up with the awareness and how do you promote the program. So all this is what we have done. We came up with the brochures, flyers, signposts. I think for those of you who move around the districts there, you get to see those signposts showing where the installations were done. Then we have also had a number of talk shows, awareness meetings, and also on the social media, all this to promote the program. Next. So we also had a consultant who provide for us success stories and comparison of the best practices, and all this information is available for you. If you want to get to know what is there, we are here. We shall avail it to you. Then we also have the branding materials and knowledge materials, all this to make farmers appreciate, all those who haven't yet got the systems appreciate what is involved in the program. So what has worked is that what has worked is the microscale technologies, the uptake is high, the subsidy approach, now the farmers can really appreciate. And actually we thank the World Bank for this, and I recognize Madam, I forget the name, but she's one of the staff of the World Bank. In this, that the subsidy approach brought about the ownership aspect of the farmers. By the time the farmer pays his 25% and he gets the 75% from the government, that 25% makes that farmer own up whatever has been installed. So really, thank you for that. Because now from this, we are shifting from those free inputs into something you pay for and you own it up. Then the development of information and communication material for different stakeholders. Then the development and rolling out of the digital technologies, that is the e-track and the MIS. And I think now most of the different programs which are coming up, they're all developing a number of information systems. Even all government MDAs, we have systems in the Ministry of Water, systems in the Ministry of Health, all this is for the tracking. Then provision of guidelines and how do we support capacity building, because on this we supported 1,942 district staff. This was under when Kampiringisa, and all this we're trying to build their capacity into how we go about with the farmer field schools. Then what has worked also, and actually I will ask all the senior agriculture engineers in this room to stand up, because the program facilitated their recruitment. Before this program, we had only 40 senior agriculture engineers, but currently we are now remaining with only around 12 districts to complete. So we have a number of 120 senior agriculture engineers recruited by the government, and we need to clap for this. And for those who are here, please stand up so that the room can recognize you. Where are you? There they are. This one who has remained seated, I don't know why. Yeah. So also the engagement of the private sector in irrigation. This is the service, the irrigation suppliers, because with this, it has provided employment for them, and their business portfolios have really gone up. Then MAIF has equipped local governments with tools for irrigation, data collection, planning design, tablets, computers, and we're still giving them actually. And next week we shall be giving you ICT equipment to all the 135 districts, all courtesy of the micro-scale irrigation program. So where are we now? Since we are coming to a closure on June 30th, we are looking forward to having, if the chance is there, so that we have a successor program which will support farmers from, because now we have really addressed the issue of production, because now every farmer is producing. They're all irrigating. So now the production is high. So we need to move from production along that whole value chain up to the market. So we want to see how we can support farmers in form of storage, in form of bulking, processing, even transport, because some farmers are in areas where transport is a problem in terms of road chokes and what, and also the marketing. Because now farmers have produced, they have a lot, but how do they sell up all this so that they can improve their livelihood? I think I've taken a bit long, but that's what we had for you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, team.
Thank you so much, Engineer James Tondo, for your presentation. And for the interest of time, allow me appreciate World Bank. And in respect to that, I recognize Madam Kunda. Madam Kunda, you're welcome. You can wave to the House as a representative from World Bank. Thank you so much for the support.
Thank you so much. I think I've somewhat been hijacked to make a few remarks. Unfortunately, the TTLs for this project are not here. I'm working with the agriculture sector, particularly working on the climate smart agriculture project, but definitely a lot of interest from our side on microscale irrigation. I think Engineer Tondo touched on a lot of the critical issues that we have to think about in terms of microscale irrigation. I think our interest from the bank is we've seen the potential of what is happening under UGIFT. The question is, how do we scale it up? Maybe just for points of emphasis, just a few points. The issue of the water source. I think this one is a very critical issue in the sense that for smallholder farmers that have water sources, it's actually easier to take up irrigation. I think the question would be, in cases where you have potential options for extending that water source to other farmers who are within the area, how do we actually make that happen? How do we develop a market for water and collective management of that source? So those are some of the issues that we have to think through. The role of government and the private sector, I think Engineer Tondo again touched on these. We believe that government definitely has a role to play in terms of regulation as well as quality. But the issues around limitations in innovations and job creation and those delays that often tend to happen, I think those are things that we really have to think about how we're going to address them. So private sector, how do we actually develop or promote private sector engagement in really playing a role in the irrigation sector? I think that's something that we as a collective, from the government side, from the development partner side, we really have to think through how to support the private sector engagement in this. Maybe linked back to the water source, just a point that I wanted to make was this, when I hear that at the moment, I think we don't have any issues with drilling. Like the surface water seems to be sufficient. But if we're going to be encouraging scale up of irrigation, I think there's more to be done in having at least a clear policy on water drilling. I don't know if it's there to take into account the potential implications of water drilling. I think those are some of the points that I wanted to highlight. But just to say, yes, the package, very expensive, right? And maybe we also need to be a bit more, I don't know if selective is the correct term. It's not every smallholder farmer who has the ability to actually take this up, right? So even if we are promoting micro-scale irrigation, I think we have to be a bit more strategic in who we are targeting. I think it has to be targeted towards more commercially oriented smallholder farmers, because then you would be able to justify the kind of investments that you're making in terms of the equipment. I'll stop there. If there's anything else that I remember, then I'll probably come back. But great presentation, and congratulations for the work done so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Kunda, for those remarks. I take the pleasure to welcome a representative from the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Onesimus, to come and give us your opening remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, for the good coordination of this meeting. IFPRI colleagues, colleagues from AFRICANA, colleagues from different institutions, NARO, MAIF, the World Bank, and other organizations, all protocol observed. I take this opportunity to welcome you to this important meeting. It's quite very enriching, and the more we share, the more we realize we have quite a lot to learn. I'll start by acknowledging the fact that Uganda being agriculture-based country, and with climate increasingly affecting us, becoming more and more hostile, we cannot run away from irrigation. It's a very important intervention that is timely, and actually maybe we took even longer to embrace it. We used to have most of good climate, very good soils, but probably not anymore. The soils are going down in productivity, and the climate is not as good. So when you look at government intervening in form of programs like U-Gift, Engineer Tondo, I thank you for that very successful project, and of course the World Bank for the support. So these are very timely interventions, and we really appreciate the fact that government is coming to the very small scale farmer, 2.5 acres of land. It's really small. No, so you're looking at programs that are aiming at reaching out to the small farmer, and this is something very good. So we thank our government for the important this important intervention, benefiting the farmers countrywide. It's not easy to have a project that runs across the country. This solar irrigation is something that we all must embrace because of, obviously, the abundant sunshine. We have received a lot of sunshine, and the more the earlier we tap it, the more we make use of it, then the better. Then you're looking at a clean energy, you're looking at a clean environment, and so right now minimize use of diesel and petrol, especially diesel fuels, in preference for solar energies. And we're also looking at optimal use of land. If you have a small piece of land and you want to maximize its use, then commercial farming through irrigation is something we can really seriously address. So we thank our partners like IFPRI for this excellent audience and excellent studies and work that has culminated into this kind of achievements. And we also thank the collaborators like CGI centers. These are important partners in development. We conduct research jointly with CGI centers, and we've achieved a lot through that kind of collaboration. We thank the private sector. Engineer Tondo clearly said this project, the U-Gift project, was supported heavily by the private sector. So private sector, thank you so much for supporting government efforts in promoting irrigation. We also value the partnerships we have with universities. Universities, that is the custodian of knowledge. And if you can make use of that, you can tap into that knowledge, and that is very good. I have one remark. Interventions like U-Gift is obviously very successful. Why? Because you had, 75% co-funding. The farmer pays 25%. Yes, farmers benefited. But suppose that program is not there. How affordable is that soil irrigation? So we really think, we have to think through as we promote soil irrigation. Let's also make the technology more affordable so that my farm in Nakaseke can also benefit in solar interventions. I was sharing with one of the farmers in Masaka, who is a coffee farmer and a beneficiary from the U-Gift. His farm is very good, very, very good. So when we asked him, how did you even get to this? He said, yeah, I benefited from U-Gift project by the government through the district. I said, oh, this is very good. So how does this work? He said, I contributed 25% and then the project contributed 75%. So how much was the 25%? He said 47 million. 47 million, that's not small money. So yes, it's a very good intervention, but how affordable is this to the small scale farmer? I thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Doctor, and most of all for observing time management. We appreciate everyone that is in the house. For those of you that turned up before or after the introductions, if anyone wants to use the restrooms, just turn on your left. The first door on your right is for gentlemen. The next is for ladies. In the meantime, allow me to invite Edward to take us through the next session. That is the insights from or the findings of the study. I request that we really, this is the heart of this dissemination. I request that we pay a little bit attention, and because after that, we shall have questions and reactions from the audience. Thank you so much, and you're welcome, Secretary.
Thank you very much, moderator. So I'm here to share with you a program that has been running. And it is ending the next 2 weeks. So our performance assessment is almost very recent. And what we are going to present doesn't change anything, even if you go back during Christmas time. You are likely to find the same findings we are going to share. This is a U-Gift program. I worked on this program for some time. I could not get the word U-Gift in full in my head, but now I think I have it. Uganda Intergovernmental Fiscal Transfers Program. Fiscal transfers meaning that there was money transferred to the farmers. That's what it means. And that's what I'm going to present for now. Climate change 15 years ago in Uganda was just an academic debate or a scientific debate. Will it happen or it won't happen? We now all agree Uganda, both in urban and rural areas. Climate change is already here. It's no longer a scientific debate or academic debate. It's a reality. So irrigation should become as a natural adaptation strategy. Unfortunately, in Uganda, what we are seeing, less than 2% of the farms are doing irrigation. So we want to applaud the World Bank and the government to really come in and make sure that our farmers get irrigation equipment through a subsidy program. By December, when we did this survey, there were 4,000 installations done. You have heard from Engineer Tondo, they now stand at what? At 5,000. And in December, when we did our study, out of the 146 districts in Uganda, the program had reached 66 districts. That was the coverage we saw in the data. And based on that coverage, we did our study. But for us to go there, our interest was, fine, pumps have come. Are women benefiting from these pumps? So this study, most of the evidence I'm going to tell you is about have women benefited from the YouGift program. The second aspect we're looking at is sustainability of this program. And the last one is, was this model of the subsidy program very effective or not? Oh, other models will be more effective. And that's what I'm going to share with you in this presentation. In terms of research design, which I'm going to focus on, we did an ex-post quasi-experimental design. Basically, we picked two. If you want to know whether Kato is performing well, you can't compare Kato to Kato. You must get somebody else similar to Kato. Then you compare me. Kato is doing better than who? If you say my IF is performing better than relative to who? Relative to Ministry of Trade, relative to Ministry of Energy. So there must be a comparison what? Group. So we picked two groups. We picked the guys who have received the pumps and the families that haven't received the pumps. Now the families that received the pumps, you must have had the pump for at least 1 year because you are looking at a year performance. If you got the pump 2 months ago, sorry, we left you out in our evaluation. You must have the pump at least for 1 year. Now, for the other group that do not have the pumps, how did we get them? The non-beneficiaries are people that applied but not yet. So we are comparing two people. Kato received the pump. Then we pick another Mugerwa. He has applied for the pump, but has not yet received the what? The pump. That's what we are comparing. And where did we get these lists? To get the beneficiaries and non-beneficiaries, the World Bank helped us to get these lists, and from the Ministry of Agriculture. So our lists are very authentic. There are no forgeries in our lists. Then the second aspect was, as IFPRI, we want all the 4 regions of Uganda. We visited all the farmers that got pumps in all the 4 regions of what? Uganda. So don't say we only went in central what? We went everywhere in the 4 districts of Uganda. And in each district, we randomly selected 2 districts. At least a district must have had at least 50 beneficiaries. If there was a Amur district with only 10 beneficiaries, we left it out in our study. We think those are not enough people to do the study. So we come to the central region, we go for all the districts, but we only select districts that have at least 50 beneficiaries. And then from those 50 beneficiaries, we picked 35 randomly. Our selection was as random as possible. We are not biased in our selection. Nobody told us where to go. The selection is scientific. So finally, we end up with this total number of families. Now, who are these people that got the pumps? Who are these people? What do we know about these people that got the pumps? So the next presentation, I'm going to tell you about the characteristics of the people who got the pumps. Overall, we find that the farmers we visited for the project, they had got the pumps in the last 3 what? Around the last 3 years. So we are dealing with more recent acquisitions. Surprisingly, people, there's this one farmer here who are telling us 2016. I don't know whether this is true or not, but most of our farmers are around this period in which they got the pumps. 2021, 2024. Those are the farmers we are dealing with. The second aspect, which I want to comment here from the data, the pumps have been received by farmers and non-farmers. People like you also got access to these pumps. But also, our farmers got access to these pumps. At least 20% of the people we visited are like you, and they got the pumps. But 80% are our people out there that also got the pumps. That's the message I want to give. How about what? How about urban farming? Oh, yeah, of course, they are not getting pumps to make alcohol. They are getting pumps to do urban farming, as you're putting it. Yeah, so we assume they are really doing farming. But the point is that some people who got the pumps, agriculture is not their main source of income. At least 20% of the people out there. 80% agriculture is the main source of income. That's what we're saying. How much did the people, we have had people pay 25%. You are supposed to pay 25% of the cost of the pump. What people are telling us, on average, people paid in Uganda money. On average, you're supposed to pay most people paid about 7 million. But there are others who claim that he paid 27 million. That's about $1,860. You're supposed to come up with this money, at least on average, to get a solar pump and its equipment. This cost includes the pump and I think also the installation cost, 7 million, or about 1,860 million. Overall, the cost of the pump was $7,000. That is not a damn joke. That's not a walk in the park, raising $7,000. So if people say the pumps are expensive, the evidence is here. And that's what we're seeing in the data, from our data. Who contributed to the acquisition of the pump? So a family wants to get a pump. Who is contributing 25% in that family? Of course, what you are seeing, in 10%, in 10 households, in 6 households, 60% in the families, it was the husband making the contribution. But also what is interesting, our wives made also a contribution. So, please, men, we thank you for not being selfish. Thank you for not being selfish in the solar pump project. You allowed our wives to contribute, at least 50% of the wives contributed to these pumps. Okay, I skipped the slide here. How did you get this money to pay the co-funding? Interestingly, we thought when we went there that people borrowed the 25%. What is coming out is that most people, they claim in the survey that it was self-finance. So people were able to raise the 7 million from their own sources without borrowing. Very few borrowed, only 20%. So for every 10 farmers, 2 farmers borrowed. So people were able to come up with $1,860 That is a ticket to Japan and to come back to Uganda. But people are able to raise it on their own. That is quite something that was quite interesting. Now, who contributed? As I said, husbands made the biggest contribution, but also wives made a big contribution too. In terms of age, who's benefiting from these pumps? In terms of age, our younger farmers, we are not likely to access these pumps. The pumps are mainly accessed by people who are over 40 and above. Farmers in their 20s and 30s found it difficult to access these pumps. That is a lacuna we need to think about, as you can see here from this. So those who are above 40s and in the 60s, you can see the guys who are in the 60s were the majority beneficiaries. Maybe because of the resources and other factors that came out. So our youth are being left out. We are being left out in the U-Gift project. Yes? They don't have money. Okay. What about in terms of education? People who got the pumps. The people who got the pumps are quite well educated. Quite well educated. We don't see illiterates getting these pumps. Even those with university degrees, people like you are getting this pump. So largely the beneficiaries are quite well educated beneficiaries. Now, most of these pumps we are not permanently fixed in the field. We found them to be mobile. Why? Thieves, vandalism, whatever. People are complaining about all sorts of things. So you're not fixing the pumps in the field permanently. They go, irrigate, and go back home. Now, the beneficiaries and non-beneficiaries. Our thinking was that the people who got the pumps and those who didn't but applied were similar. What we are finding, they are not similar. They are not similar. They are similar demographically, age, education, they are similar. But when it comes to wealth, the guys who got the pumps are more wealthier than the guys who get the pumps, who applied. We can see it from here. When you look at when you look at their houses, they sleep in. The beneficiaries are sleeping in houses of average $30,000 US. That's about 100 million, around 120 million. That's the average house value. When you look at the vehicles, the transportation, the motorbikes and what they have, is about 11 million. That's a car. That's a car. Whereas these guys are about 4 million. Maybe that's a motorcycle, isn't it? That's about a motorcycle. So the guys who got the pumps are more richer than the guys who are still on the waiting list. So that confused us because we thought these guys were very similar, but actually they are not. So those are the type of farmers that got the pumps. More educated, they are richer, husbands contributed, but also women contributed. The youth are left out in the UG project. Other farmers seem to have got these pumps. Those are the characteristics we are seeing. Let us go to the benefits. Have the pumps benefited these people? Getting a pump is one thing. Getting benefits is another thing. Have they benefited? So this second part of the phase of presentation is about benefit streams. Why did you acquire this? Why did you get the solar pump? The solar pump was made for irrigation. Purposely, it was made for irrigation. That's the goal of that's the goal of government. What we are seeing is that people are getting the solar pump also for domestic water use, pumping the water for their domestic use. Besides irrigating crops, they're also getting it for that. So we are seeing multiple reasons. When you got the pump, did you get onto new crops? This is what gets very interesting. When the pump came into a family, farmers moved into new crops. The main crop that they went into were tomatoes for both men and women. For the men, interestingly, after acquiring the pump, most men went into eggplants. They moved into eggplants, cabbages, and onions. Our women have moved into Robusta coffee. Women took up Robusta coffee. So the old wisdom that the coffee is for men is gone. So a solar pump is transformative. A solar pump is transformative. So please, men who are here, stop, forget about your coffee thing. Women have moved into that. Just women have moved into robusta coffee acquisition with a pump. That's what you are seeing from the data. But men are also into these other interesting crops, eggplants, cabbages, and onions. Now, you have a pump. Are you renting it out to your neighbors? What you are seeing, 95% of farmers are not renting out their pumps. The pumps are only benefiting the families that got those pumps. The pumps are not benefiting farmers beyond the beneficiaries. That's what we are seeing here. So there are no spillover effects of these pumps. We are not seeing spillover effects of the pumps beyond the benefiting families. I don't know why people are selfish with their pumps. I don't know why, but that's what's happening in Uganda. It's their money. So they are not renting out. So the farmers are not renting out their pumps, but also the farmers are not selling out the water. Okay, fine. Don't give me your pump. Selling me the water. What you are, oh, where am I? No, this is the wrong one. I must have skipped it. Yeah, selling water. Selling water. Even selling water is not happening. They are not selling water to their neighbors using this pump. So there's no renting the pump. You're not giving out the pump. Even the water, you're not selling it. We need to close those two things there. We need to close those two things there. Pumps are giving, beyond irrigation, pumps are giving other multiple benefits. Farmers are getting more benefits. They're using it for livestock watering, water for livestock, domestic water use, but not so much on lighting. Not so much on lighting. So you may go there and they're still in darkness, but I bet they use it for livestock and domestic. Another benefit we looked at is on food security. On food security. Families with the water pumps are less likely to be worried about food. Less likely to be worried about food in a day, as you can see from these questions. Are you worried? They are less likely to be worried. And even they are likely to be eating peripheral foods than people who are not having pumps. That's what we're seeing. So there's a benefit on food security we are seeing there. Yes. Now, the thing is, yes, we are seeing that farmers with the pumps are less likely to be worried about. They're not worried about food, but also we have said they are richer. They are richer. So is it about the pump or is it about their wealth? So we are seeing that interaction there. We're seeing that interaction there. Yes. In terms of nutrition, how many foods they consume, we are seeing that people with farms are eating different types of foods, at least six groups, especially in areas where the road infrastructure is better and people who are quite far. Now, this is the point. Families with the pumps and they are near markets, they eat less food because they're selling most of what they're producing. The pump is benefiting families who are quite far from the markets. They are less likely to sell what they are producing. And you see them consuming that kind of food and improving their nutrition. Now, we go to equity. Solar pumps, as we said, most of the beneficiaries, 88% of the beneficiaries were male-headed households, and only 12% were female-headed households. So the pumps mainly went to families headed by men. In terms of, so when you get a pump in your family, where do you place it? What we are seeing is that most pumps are being placed on husband plots and joint plots, not so much on the wife what? Plots. Men, you are selfish. Men, again, you are selfish when it came to this. Or maybe we have no plots. So we are seeing the pumps are not being placed on the plots of the wife. The plants are being fixed on the plots of the man, and where a man also has a say. Where it's joint. Depending on the what? We invested more than the other. But still you are selfish. So men became very selfish when it came to pump installation. Now, when it came to food security, who was benefiting more? Women or men? It is the men who are benefiting more in terms of food security than the men. So the pump is benefiting more in terms of food security to the men than to the women, according to analysis. In terms of data diversity, women with solar pumps and women with solar pumps, we are seeing that women with solar pumps are getting better nutrition. They have better nutrition. So the solar pump is benefiting women also in terms of nutrition, according to our estimates there. Now, about decision making, this is where the problem is. We have seen the pump is benefiting women in food, it's benefiting men more than women on food security. It's benefiting women more on nutrition. When it comes to decision making in the family, women in those families that receive the pumps, we are seeing women have less power in decision making. Women have less power compared to their counterparts. Why? Why? Women have less power to influence domestic decisions. They have less power to influence major purchases in the home, and they have less power even to make decisions on their own health. So we are seeing that negative part of it, but I'll give you the explanation later. So when it comes to decision making, women are disadvantaged in terms of empowerment. The pumps are not empowering women the way we would expect. When it comes to time use, what we are seeing is that the solar pump is not taking away women's time. I repeat, the solar pump is not taking away women's time from their traditional duties in the family. However, it's taking away men's time to help women in family duties. That's what you are seeing here. Women continue to get more time in families where there is a solar pump. Women got more time to take care of their household duties, to care for their children. They're seeing that is happening there. So in the families where there's a solar pump, women get more time to take care of their children. Whereas for the men, they are withdrawing from there. Why? It seems that for the solar pump, it's the men who are operating it more than the what? The women. And therefore, their decision making is also what? Affected. That's what it shows. So please, the solar pump, that's what you are seeing here, it's not affecting women's time at all to do household domestic duties. Then on issues of sustainability, is it sustainable? In terms of water, is the water sustainable? The major source of water for the solar pumps in these families you went to were mainly dams, wells, and swamps. You must have access to any of these. That's why swampy land is very expensive in the rural areas right now. It's very expensive. So anybody without this access, you could not be able to get, I think that. So, but then are they being used sustainably? That's a different question. We hear from our farmers. Most of the people who applied for pumps in the UGIP project, we are already irrigating. I repeat, most of the people who applied and got solar pumps in the UGIFT were already irrigating before. And they're using possibly a petrol pump or a diesel what? Pump. So they came for this solar one. We don't see new people. We don't see that new people we are coming in. Both for the women and the what? And the men. Interestingly, when you look at our national data, only 2% of people are irrigating. But the guys who came for these pumps were 19% irrigating before and 35% irrigating before. So the guys who are, I think it's because of the water source. The farmers who are not irrigating at all did not bother to apply for these pumps. That's the point. The farmers who were not irrigating before did not bother to apply for these pumps. So it came to those who were already irrigating. Now, for the people who came for the pumps, they also had the pumps before. They had a petrol pump, a diesel pump, and no electric pump. Basically, it was a petrol pump and what? Diesel pump. Then they came for the solar pump. Now, what are we seeing in terms of water change? Is the solar pump changing the water change? Has it increased water consumption? People are saying the solar pump has increased water consumption at the household level. People are drawing more water. People are drawing more water to irrigate. Whether this is sustainable or not is a different matter. We did not investigate this. But what we are seeing is that households are using more water where they have got solar pumps. In terms of area, the solar pump has helped farmers to expand the area irrigated. We are seeing more area being irrigated. All of them claim, most of them claim 60% that the area has increased that they're irrigating with the solar pump. So with the solar pump, people are really expanding. That's what you're seeing there. And in terms of labor, unfortunately, the solar pump is not helping farmers to save labor. The solar pump seems to be labor demanding. That is the downside part of it. The solar pump is not helping our farmers to save labor. It's actually demanding more labor from them. Despite all these other benefits we are seeing that other rational. So families that cannot hire labor or families that are small may not be able to benefit so much from the solar pump. So please give birth to children. Even the what? The energy. Okay. So that's what you are seeing here. There's no labor saving. There's not much labor saving with the solar energy. No, it's better labor intensive. On repairs, what we saw when we went there, 30% of the pumps that were given now have already developed a mechanical problem. So for every 10 pumps, at least three pumps have required some mechanical repairs. Whether small repairs or large repairs. That's what you are seeing from the farmers. And whenever they got those problems, 70% went out to get help. But then they paid. Mechanical repairs, people pay. How much are they paying? Each visit, people are paying about 300,000 Uganda shillings. That's about $76 for each repair on average. They're paying about 700,000 for that repair. About 76. But some people claim they paid 2 million to repair their solar pump. So you can see the cost can really be astronomical to repair a solar pump. How far do you go? Okay, the cost is there. There's a cost. It can be low, it can be high. But how far do you go to get the mechanic to help you? In Uganda, it seems like the engineers for solar pumps are very few. These people are going almost on average 27 kilometers. Others claim, there's one who claimed that he will go as far as 200 kilometers to take his pump for repair. From where? They come to Kampala. So from Kampala to Kampala, that's about this. Yeah, you are right. So they come to Kampala to have so usually they travel a lot. So we need to improve on access to repair services. For conclusions, I think I'll stop at that. Roger, maybe you can.
Yeah, thanks for getting us this far. Yeah, the conclusion, I think you've already heard everything that was said. It's just summarized here. Very strong demand for those pumps. We've also heard 88,000 people are on the waiting list. So there is demand for this kind of system. And of course, most were purchased recently, very clearly. So what we really need to do is in 5 years or so also go back and, just see how long did those pumps, are they still operating? I mean, we generally say they should operate for 25 years. I don't know if the systems here are supposed to operate for 25 years. I mean, some people say 50 years, but I think we have to be realistic. Can they operate for 25 years or not? And then, yeah, we had this problem that all of our analysis was built on the assumption that those on the waiting list and those who got the pumps are the same. The problem is they're not. And so everything that we compared, food insecurity, nutrition, we now have to put in perspective that they're not the same households. Very clearly, the asset and other characteristics suggest they're not the same farmers. And so we chose a bad counterfactual that we had no alternative, but this is not ideal for us. So then, so we do have this limit to the 2.5 acres, right? You can only get a system for 2.5 acres, but what we probably need to do is change the criteria of farm selection. So the 2.5 acres, you will not select the poorer farmers. So maybe we need to, have a cap on land size owned. So you cannot own more than, I don't know, 5 acres, 8 acres. So to really get to the, poorer farmers. And then maybe some other indicators of wealth have to be considered before a farmer can be considered to get the subsidy, if you really want to reach poorer farmers. Because right now, to just say you get a system that only covers 2.5 acres alone is not going to get you the poorer farmers, if that's whom we want to, to reach. And then, yes, so the farmers that we interviewed, only 19% needed a loan. But it might be interesting to check. This was 24 and 25. Did the percentage of farmers that needed a loan increase? As soon as the percentage increases, we know we are getting, somewhat poorer farmers. And I assume it has increased. That's my understanding. So we are getting into these more the people on the waiting list. Benefit streams, I think very important that, not only did they go for vegetables and cash crops, I think that's great, because that's the only way they can really increase their income and also get, return on the 25% investment. Very important is that there's many other uses that these farmers use those pumps for. It's important that they use it for domestic, because we can really only achieve nutrition and food security if domestic water is also available. And it's great that they have other business opportunities, to use those pumps for, because we really want them to improve their livelihoods and profitability. There is the issue in Asia, in South Asia, they get very big solar pumps, and it's very normal to sell the water from the pumps. You just buy a kilometer or 2 of pipes, these flexible pipes, and you just provide the water to other farmers, right? Because you have a big system, so you actually generate income, and this way you reach the poorer farmers, right? Because those poorer farmers cannot afford a pump, and so they just purchase the water from other farmers. It's a very common system in South Asia, and so it would be great to see if we can at least do some trial here, provide more hose or more of these pipes to farmers, and in exchange for them to provide irrigation to other farmers. Okay, and then you just have to negotiate a fee for that. And of course, you can rent the pump, because 60% of those pumps are not fixed, right? Because the farmers are worried about theft, vandalism, so they don't fix it anyway. So that's an alternative. But there's, of course, many other companies out there who are already providing irrigation as a service. And then, as I said, we find better food insecurity and nutrition, but we cannot just say that's linked to the pumps, because those farmers are not the same farmers, because it could be the wealth, that could be the reason. In terms of gender equality, so this program has actually done a lot to directly reach women farmers. So women farmers have their signatories on the equipment purchase, they participated in awareness activities and training activities. And we do, see that they do play a role. So that's already very good, because traditionally, mechanical irrigation, you don't see many women across Africa. So these shares here, they're low, but they're good. I mean, they exist, right? So we have actually, this program has successfully reached women farmers. So that is a huge beneficial outcome. In terms of, is the share low or not, it kind of depends how much land they own, how much land they can manage. If on average in Uganda, they can only manage 5% of the land, then having this share installed on the land is great, right? That would be 100%. There are some studies suggesting that women farmers have rights over 30% of the land in Uganda. Then, that means we could go further. But we know that even if they have some rights, that right to just put the pump on their land might still not be given. also because it was mostly men who purchased the pumps. Yeah, and then again, also for gender equality, so female-headed households, really had better diets than male-headed households with the pumps. Yeah, and then, but we saw some challenges that decision-making of women was lower in households with pumps. We would have to look into that, or just given that those farmers were not the same, just let this go. But it would be good to review some underlying issues around land tenure, women's access to finance. For example, those 90% who got a loan, were they all men? Were there some women who also got a loan? Yeah, and then basically maybe some engagement with households as part of the training, to how can you explain to both women and men in the household that these pumps are good for domestic use. It's important for women's plots, important for men's plots. So basically to do a little bit more awareness raising right at the purchase of the pump. Yeah, so then in terms of sustainability, there's the issue on repair. 30% of households told us they needed some kind of repair, but sometimes it was super tiny, right? They paid very little, some paid more. So again, the challenge is getting access to repair services. So there could be maybe training program for use technicians. Important to, as I said, in 5 years, do another check. Maybe the repair services could be part of the installation contracts, so that the company that installed those pumps, has to give a warranty or has to come back for 1 year or 2 years, to provide service. So they don't have to travel to Kampala to get a repair service. In terms of sustainability, there was also an issue, at least I think one district noted delayed pump delivery. And so maybe have a hotline, and maybe that exists, a hotline for complaints when they said, we've signed the contract, we've waited for 3 months, our pump hasn't come. So, so that you can very quickly react to that. And then, yes, in terms of sustainability, clear signs of increased water use, but also obviously clear signs of increased production, clear signs of increased area. And that's why I think the labor didn't go down, because now they've become much more productive. So, but it is important then to look at, changes in water tables, what groundwater governance institutions exist, what do we have groundwater monitoring wells in this region, or at least in regions where, based on some hydrologic analysis, you already know that groundwater is at risk. These maps exist. So in those areas, if that's where they purchase the pumps, put in some monitoring wells so that you have some idea where the groundwater table is going. And then also, we talk about solar is a great solution, but do these farmers still use their diesel and petrol pumps, the ones who have? Are they actually replacing, or are they trying to use both? And then we have this issue, I think, what we already heard, that if you don't have a water source, you can't apply. So, but not having a current water source doesn't mean that the water isn't there, right? Because they would have to drill and check, or that someone would have to do an analysis if there is groundwater in this location. So if you again want to reach poorer farmers, that component would have to be part of the program. An assessment, if there is ample groundwater supply, mostly groundwater, because if it's surface water, they would know. Is there ample groundwater supply? And then the farmers could participate, but they would need some well drilling support. And that could definitely get us to poorer farmers. And that's it. Thanks so much for listening. Yeah.
Thank you so much, IFPRI team, for sharing with us the evidence-based research findings. Next on agenda is we're going to have questions and answers.
I'm just wondering, as part of the Q&A, should we already maybe have our experts on the podium and they can answer as well? Because we just looked at the program, but we're not the full experts of this. Should we do that? Like, make it together, questions and answers to us, but also to the experts who have installed the systems and know everything. So we can just, I suggest.
We can do it concurrently as well.
Yeah.
So time. Let's use List.
Yeah, so feel free to ask whoever you want.
Exactly.
Also the experts.
Let's start with you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. By the names of Mutebi Faizo, the District Agriculture Engineer Bujiri, one of the foot soldiers implementing this program. Now my concern is one about the research. Professor told us that we should not attack the researchers, but attack the research. So me, I want to attack the research in such a way that one, you missed out the component of why. Most of the findings, I'm not seeing a component of why. For example, why we can't sell out the water, rent out the pumps. Due to the experience we have had, we have started going into more for submersible pumps. When the pump is submersible, how will you rent it out? You can't rent it out. So I'm seeing the why is not there, there is more of the finding. Then also, we are lacking more of the success stories. For the past 3 years, we have done a lot. And this has been a learning session. We have learned and learned. I think if more of the other issues, but the success stories are so many, we have really done a lot. So if there is still room for amendment, at least let us know the why. Then I disagree on the figure of saying the average pumping system is $7,000. That is 25 million. This research never reached to my district, but that's totally not true. The 25, it is very high. The 25 would be for these farmers you found who are already irrigating. Those are the farmers who go for systems like sprinkler, drip, which make the system to be high. But the average would be around 16. Meaning also the average for the farm wouldn't be 7 million, would be around 3 or 4 million. So that's why I say the component of why is not there. Now, if we come to the issue of labor, labor is for these guys who are taking drag house, the startup farmers. But the farmers who have no irrigation, who are already practicing it, who are doing the 25 million, they are doing drip. Now drip system, which labor is there? Again, it is reducing labor. So we are lacking the component of why. Nevertheless, I want to thank the World Bank, the Ministry of MAIF, our engineers, for this wonderful program. For sure, we have done a tangible job to the farming community. Thank you for listening to me.
Yes. Excuse me. Thank you so much for your comments. I request that we have question, answer, response form. Other questions come in.
Maybe you take 5 questions.
Exactly. And it should be at least 2 minutes. 2 minutes asking.
Yes, thank you very much. I was told to come next. Thank you very much for this well-done research. My name is Joseph Semakula from the African Center of Excellence for Agroecology. The issue of costs has been explained. I don't know if there was an initiative about water harvesting. You talked about it as a smart issue with water, because what we are looking at is access to water. Access water for production, for irrigation, and everything. I find that the issue of security, where farmers are being, have their systems vandalized. I don't know if there was a community involvement in this. Recently, I've been invited to Mzuzu University in Malawi. And we are having similar problems. Of course, I supervise students who are doing water for production. Then I have another student here who is researching on Luajali, having water in Nakasaja, they're doing water for production. And water, there cannot be irrigation without water. Water has a source. In Africa, even if the water source is in your compound, it's not yours. The research has confirmed that most of this water is from wells, swamps, and dams. This water has been accessed by the community before pumps came. Now, someone is taking away God-given water. When I say God, is that these people go to worship even at these water sources. So if someone is benefiting from a water source that is supposed to be for the community and he cannot sell the water, people don't have access to that water through his vehicle. The pump is a vehicle to reach them. So I don't know if the project did some community involvement and perception mapping around issues of water sources. In Malawi, with Muzuzu University, we are doing a study around Lake Malawi. What are the perceptions around water as water? People worship from there. In Uganda, we have examples of big development projects of over $100 million of the Bujagali Dam. Bujagali used to sail on this water and the community refused. For 3 years, the project was not going on. So I really recommend that if you're going to scale up, because there are students, I supervise about 6 students who are doing on water for production. And you've talked about it in the research, watering, irrigation, bathing. A lot of issues come with sources of water, especially these sources that have been talked about that are natural. So if you're scaling up, do map some perceptions around this, because farmers that have been selfish have had their cattle poisoned in a water source. Yes. There are a lot of issues are happening about sources of water. So I recommend that please do a study, map perceptions, because the whole project can fail because of a water source. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Before we move to the next engineer, Titus, you have a question, you're responding to him. Okay, fine.
Yes, thanks very much. Once again, I'm called Issa Hassan, from Kiriandongo. I'm an extension worker. My experience with this project and why many of the so-called poor farmers have not been able to benefit is the issue of water source development. I personally have been engaging with our government agencies. The government has been going in for the easy part, because this huge micro scale is not the first. Now for us to implement the aquatic settlement project, we also had a component on that. But government goes for say, you develop water source, once I've developed it, then we are going to come. Now, most of our areas, we have to drill. For us, drilling a borehole, where you're going to put a submersible pump, on average, it will cost you 20 million. That's not something that the poor farmers will go for. So that's an area that if you're going forward with promoting irrigation, well, an inclusive program, then we have to think of how do we support the poor farmers with water source development. Then the other one is on the result that most of the people who took up this system were already doing irrigation. Now that one, now this is a different story. For us, over 90%, I can say, were new farmers in irrigation. People like, in fact, like the strange one was irrigation of pasture in a cattle corridor. Many of those cattle keepers took up the system to irrigate pastures. That one had never happened before. So to us, I don't know outliers, but many of those probably are very, very new. Yeah, I think those are the critical things that I wanted. The other one, which is institutional. Now, according to the lawyer in Uganda, if you're going to extract water, you are supposed to get water extraction permit. Now, if you are in the district water officer must come and do an assessment and then issues the water extraction permit. Now, I think because this is our project, our program, we had to forego that. But if we are to implement it very well under ideal situation where we have to mind of the water table in a given area, then that has to be put on board.
Thank you so much. I request that we move the mic to also cater for the blind people.
Thank you. My name is Fred Muzira, and I'm the Minister of Agriculture. I think it's already my mind. The question, I was also trying to interrogate the data on the issue of people accessing the pumps, the irrigation that we're already irrigating. So maybe I can just substantiate what you said, because from the data that the statistics were presented, you had 33% of the men who were already irrigating, and then the 19% of the women were already irrigating. So the question, and that gives us a total of 32%. What about the 48%? So maybe that's what we wanted. Then finally on the issue of labor, yes, the drug horse issues. Maybe as we focus on it's just a thought, as we focus on the next possible successor project, could we make the drip and sprinkler irrigation more affordable, so that then that will save the labor for the farmers? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. My name once again is Mary Tejasio from the Ministry of Agriculture also. My question to the researchers is on, there are some of these factors that I thought were a given. For example, to say we found them richer, those who are using pumps, and we found them food secure. I thought that is expected. When we give them the water, that was expected. But what I wanted now to see is to say, before they got the pumps, how food insecure were they? And now how food secure are they? So I wanted that quantification. And before that, if they were poorer, by how far have they grown rich? I thought that was a better statistic than just to say, found them richer, we found them, and I remember that there was cost sharing. Maybe they were rich before, that's why they were able to cost share. So, but that increment after getting the pump. Then my second question, I heard from the engineer that the capacity was for 2.5 acres. So I understood that if you use it beyond that, it may affect the performance of the pump. That is what was in my mind. I'm not a water engineer, but it could be. So when you say they should share with the neighbors, they should sell, won't you affect the performance of this this system? And then also I heard that there is recruitment, massive recruitment of agriculture engineers. So my question would be, why are the farmers struggling? Maybe moving forward, these agriculture engineers should move into support. But also maybe what the research is lacking is to tell us these pumps that are breaking down, what is the problem? Are they substandard? Is it the farmers who do not know how to use it? Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are taking notes.
Okay. Thank you. Once again, my name is Moses Sodeke, and I work for an organization called AFRICANA. I'm participating here on behalf of my ED, and I have a couple of questions for my colleague, Kato. Thank you for the presentation. It was a very good presentation. My first question is on the issue of on-farm profitability. I just wanted to hear whether we can confidently say that micro irrigation using solar-powered pumps is more profitable than say maybe diesel powered pumps, or even those farmers that are not actually using irrigation. And then the other thing is the issue of return on investment. If I invested $10, for $1 invested, how much am I getting in return from this micro solar powered irrigation system? And then for food security, you indicated that men are benefiting more than women. I just wanted to understand how, what is the situation here? And then sustainability, I think there's a big problem here. Can we confidently say that if this project closes tomorrow, if the World Bank stops supporting this project tomorrow, that this project can continue on its own for the next 2 or 3 years, especially given the fact that we have challenges like pumps breaking down. We seem to have a shortage of engineers who do engineers who do repairs, highlighting that we don't have the capacity to be able to maintain the pumps. And then also, do we have a place in Uganda where these pumps are locally made, or are we depending on importation of these pumps? The other one is, this seems to be a good program, okay? Now, what do we need to be able to scale this program to other parts of this country? Based on your experience, based on what the data is telling you. And then the second last one is on inclusivity, the youth. The youth have been excluded from this program. What do we need to be able to encourage the youth in order to participate in this program, especially given the fact that there's a lot of unemployment, and that unemployment in this country is affecting the youth? So what targeted interventions do we need to put in place in order to be able to see to it that the youth are actually being able to participate in this program? And then the last one is, what are the key policy recommendations that are coming out from this data that we can say, government, these are the key things that you need to act on in order for us to be able to scale up this, very beneficial project to other parts of the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes,
thank you, Chair. And
You go ahead.
it's okay, you can go ahead.
okay, thank you, Chair, and thank you, team, for this good research. I'm by names of Engineer Nwamanya Titus. I'm a principal engineer, irrigation and drainage, Minister of Agriculture. Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank the team for this wonderful research, because it helps us as a ministry to know maybe things we didn't know in the field, and also maybe to improve our program. And I think as a ministry, we shall not go defensive, because this is a research, and maybe if you want, you can go and verify and see what happens. But I think maybe some issues I will clarify, and also have some issues to ask. Number one, the presenter talked about there's a percentage of people who got these pumps who are non-farmers. I would like to know, these who are non-farmers, what were they using the pumps for? Was it for domestic use? What was it for? The water for? They are using water for what? Then number two, I would like to clarify on the issue of saying that the youth were left out. I think that was not the intention of the program, to leave out the youth, but I think because of circumstances, and I think as a Secretariat of Youth Gift Minister of Agriculture, we shall go back and even check ourselves, because we have data of people who applied for these systems. And I think we shall put an element of putting the age bracket. Then we can check of people who applied, who were youth, and who were not. But I think as a program, we never intended to say that we leave out the what? the youth, because this program was open. Even the president, even every Ugandan was allowed to apply for this equipment, whether you are rich or poor, would get the what? The equipment. Then there is where you talked about reasons for using the water where we had domestic use. I think as a ministry and the people who were involved, we encouraged, as one of the securities, we encouraged the people who had these pumps. If you can have enough water, you put like a tap for domestic, and the people, nearby people could come and do what? And fetch the water. That is if the water was of good quality. That was one way of securing the pump and the solar panels. Because, you know, people who still don't come very far. So if a person knows that if this pump is taken, I will not have water, then it would be the mandate of the entire people who are getting the water from that tap to make sure that the system is doing what? Is working. So as one of the measures of the securities of the pump and the solar panels, we introduced that element. That was if the water was enough and of good quality. But in fact, if you visit so many people, they would have water for domestic and even water for irrigation. Then on rating the pumps, I think these pumps, there is no way how you can rate a pump. Because a pump, it is I don't know why you called them even pumps. It is a full system where you have pipeline, you have tanks, you have everything. So you cannot put out a single pump and you rent it to somebody who doesn't have a what? A system. So that one would not work. Then you talked about a big percentage of people who are already irrigating. I would like to know what type of irrigation were they doing before? Because, of course, I've already said we don't want to go defensive, but our data shows that most of the people who benefited, they are not irrigating apart from a few. So you may find maybe somebody was using a jerrycan to irrigate, and then you take him as a serious person who was doing irrigation. So I'd like to know that big percentage, what type of technology, how were they irrigating before they received our what? Our equipment. Then there was also an issue of where you said that after receiving this equipment, they thought maybe the labor would reduce. But it never did what? It never reduced or it increased. For us, technically, who are in irrigation, irrigation doesn't reduce labor. It is mechanization that reduces labor. And as a ministry, you very well know, we are giving tractors and the rest. In fact, in your presentation, you even said that after these people, after receiving the equipment, the acreage, the land of irrigation increased, isn't it? So that means if you increase on the land, you expected to increase on the labor. Because irrigation, you are just irrigating. I'm giving an example of coffee. If you had 1 acre, now you have 2.5 acres, and you are irrigating. It means you will have to get more people to do the plowing, to do the harvesting and the rest. But that means you expect to have increase in labor. But mechanization, if you are doing mechanization, you have harvesters, you have plowing work, that's why you expect to do what? That's why you expect to have reduction on labor. And as a ministry, we are doing both irrigation and even mechanization. So that element of reducing in labor can be worked on. Then last not least, you talked about these pumps having mechanical issues with the pumps and even traveling long distances. Of course, we very well know that we have a challenge of O&M on the pumps, but some are not big issues. And most of the pumps we have where we have challenges, it is simply because of the water quality, especially in areas of where we have these dams. If you find the water quality is very poor, you'll find that the pump is pumping, it will suck mud and what, then it stops working. But those are minor things which can be worked on very quickly. But you'll find that if you have people who are using maybe underground water, swamp water, the issues of pumps having issues is less. But still, as a ministry, when this program came in, irrigation was entirely almost only in Kampala. But now, if you go to Mbarara, you'll find so many people. Davis and Shatri, Spring Tech, they have their offices. If you go to Arua, the same. If you go to Guru, the same. If you go to Mbare, the same. So that means under the introduction of this program, at least we have increased on the coverage. We no longer have people traveling from Kabare to come to Kampala to repair pumps. Because you'll find you bought a pump from Davis and Shatrif, and Davis and Shatrif has an outlet where? In Mbarara. And we have not even stopped there. We have gone ahead. I think last month or 3 weeks, we had a training of technicians on a regional basis. And these are the people who will be helping us to run farmers if we have any challenge. So as a ministry, we have tried to work on that. And we think by doing that, we are partly answering the question of sustainability, because one member talked about if the bank pulls out today, will this program be running again? Yes, I can confirm the program will run because your gift is ending this financial year, maybe with a few operational maintenance up to December, and we expect this program to continue. Of course, as a ministry, we shall be overseeing in line, hand in hand with the Office of Production at the district, to make sure that this program cannot die. Because if you look at the acreage now, if you are talking of 5,000 farmers times 2.5, that is a lot of irrigated land. And as a ministry, we can't leave it. We can't leave it. We have to make sure that this irrigated land continues. And by all these ones we are doing is to make sure that we are working on sustainability of what we have already achieved. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Engineer, for the clarification. Yes,
thank you so much. I really, this has been a very enlightening discussion. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was interesting to hear from Engineer Tondo and then come and see what was happening on the evaluation side. I think you have a lot to be proud of. I mean, at least 80% of the people who actually received the equipment were people that you had actually targeted. So that's a very positive thing. I think what's kind of missing in the whole scheme of things here is the private sector. I don't know if we have any private sector players. I know you mentioned, okay. Okay, great. Because for me, I think one of the points that I really want to come back to and circle to is around the issue of the cost effectiveness of this equipment. I think part of it has to do with what is the market for the equipment actually, private sector. How many actors do we have who are actually in the market supplying this equipment that is needed? Do we have enough? I know you talked about Davis and Shirtliff. They've extended, I think they have some outlets in different districts, but they're still one actor. We're talking about wanting to bring in more actors. And I think the more actors we bring in, the better it will be for us to reduce the cost, right? One out of the very many. But for me, I think the question is from the government side, what can we do to actually crowd in more of these private sector players so that the issues that we're grappling with in terms of affordability become somewhat a thing of the past, right? Then there's an issue that was talked about in terms of quality of equipment. The gentleman sitting here told me that they implemented ACDP project. In ACDP project, I think they brought in a lot of input suppliers, but they also went through this accreditation process, correct? They went through this accreditation process where only quality inputs were given to the smallholder farmers. I think the same needs to be applied to on the equipment side. If you're supplying equipment to smallholder farmers, there has to be some process of accreditation to say you have the quality, the type of quality equipment that is going to be supplied. I like the point that you raised, where you said that for those who are supplying, I think there has to be something inbuilt in the contract for them to be providing some kind of repair and services, but also for us to be able to go back and trace and say, you know, your equipment is not up to standard. So maybe you will not be participating in this process of supplying to our smallholder farmers. Then I think the issue around youth participation, it's a tough one. For me, when I saw that, I wasn't entirely surprised. I thought, okay, obviously, you know, the under 30 are not participating, partly because maybe also they don't have the land, they don't have the money. But participation doesn't necessarily have to be in form of you having to access the irrigation equipment. This is why we're talking about building the ecosystem around sustainability, right? Making sure that you have this cadre of youth who can infuse themselves into that value chain. So these technicians, this training that you're talking about is actually critical, because this is where the jobs are going to be coming from. You know, the jobs are not going to be created from the public sector side. The jobs are going to be created from the private sector side. So even in terms of participation, I think the participation of the youth, if this program is, so if you have, say a second gift, you know, moving forward, I think these are some of the areas that you really, really need to pay attention to. How you're going to crowd in additional suppliers for these equipment. That will take some kind of thinking around from the government side. You know, how will you facilitate that private sector engagement, that private sector crowding in private sector players to do a bit more? What is preventing them from engaging in the irrigation sector? I think those are some of the things that you need to unpack and see how best to support them to really come in. And then the issues around training of youth. You know, a pump breaks down. It shouldn't, you should have people there, right there in the areas that should be able to fix those things. So you should be able to identify youth who can play a certain role. So when you start building that ecosystem, you start seeing that even the jobs that you're looking for, they actually start to be generated. The input suppliers who are extending their support to the different districts, they're setting up, they're actually employing people there. So can we get that train moving in that direction? Thank you.
Thank you so much, members. For
have the microphone. I have a question of a farmer. I thought the questions she has asked, I was gonna be the one to ask them, but now that she has covered that area, let me talk about my experience. I'm a beneficiary and I'm a farmer. I grow, produce coffee, and then engage it in the livestock farm. I was lucky I applied and I was considered. And he paid 7 million. It was 25%. It was estimated the total cost was around 29 million, including mine. So meaning I am around average. I applied for drip irrigation system, meaning that I was anticipating reduced cost of irrigation work. Because the drip, it is automatic. When you switch from the water tank, you just see water move flowing freely to each and every coffee plant. And you admire, but I didn't enjoy for long. After running for 150 days, it reduced efficiency. It stopped pumping water to the water tank, meaning that I could not get free gravity. So I complained to my supplier. I thought I would submit my supplier here, but I don't see them here. I wish I was supplied by Davis and Shatif. I would be smiling all the way up today. But my supplier was an anonymous, cannot reply by telephone, cannot respond to the email, cannot respond to the WhatsApp. When you engage them, they change the management. They say, now I'm no longer working there, but now you contact the board. Then when you talk to the board, the other board member is abroad, we cannot decide. So it means the director cannot make a decision when the other board member. So I don't know. This could be a question the ministry used to accredit such a supplier when Davis and Shatrif was available. Most of the projects, government projects, failed because of personal interests. This was such a good initiative. I was engaged in irrigation, but the cost was very high. Then two, I was using diesel or petrol, and I was depending on well water. That means that energy is not green energy. I was polluting the environment. Now, when I got the solar power, I celebrated. Now, the neighbors were asking me, you can now know the difference between solar and what? And diesel, because we don't have engineers in Uganda who know solar energy. So really, I am stressed. I had promised people, my neighbors, free water. They asked me in the morning and evening, where is the jail? Where is the pump? The pump, I don't have it. It was taken away from me. It was not returned. Actually, it was working to push water to the cattle farm because it was downstream, but couldn't push water up. So really, I'm not alone. I'm representing many farmers who also. So those are issues the ministry must directly address. Before even looking at monitoring and evaluation, that requires backup service. If you have to give someone a contract, you must agree on supply chain system. How will you provide after sales service when the project ends? Do you have the guarantee? Because we need also guarantees. If a machine stops or reduces efficiency, give me the manufacturer. I was asking the manufacturer, they refused. The manufacturer, until I went to Google and I discovered the manufacturer was an Indian man. And that Indian man couldn't also respond. Indians are very tricky. Sorry, look at the Indian here. They are very tricky. I was buying a machine knowing it was a technology from Switzerland, but I discovered it was not from. It was already a Swiss technology. So I didn't celebrate, but I liked the initiative. Those who are benefiting, it's doing well. Because this is green energy that addresses ecosystem, and it is the best solution. Everywhere, worldwide, people are looking for green energy, green power. So let us embrace solar technology. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before I will invite the have one more question. Just a second, members. I want to appreciate this farmer because the next session is more or less related to what we are doing now. So if I cut short the questions, don't feel bad. They can come in as we have a structured discussion between different stakeholders. So allow me invite there's a gentleman that said that has a concern, then perhaps the IFPRI team will come in and respond to some of the queries. Then we go to the next session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. My name is Kanare Bogire. I'm from Tulima Solar. We provide solar-powered irrigation solutions for farmers. I want to know that we're not pre-qualified under the process of U-Gift. However, we supplied some districts that were running this after encountering some challenges with some suppliers that they had. One of the key things that has been mentioning is after-sales service, which as a company, we do provide up to 2 years free service to the farmer because we know it is part of the challenges that most farmers actually face. But what I wanted to talk about was the issue of cost, the cost of the pump. If a farmer went directly to the company right now, just giving an example of the Eno Sunlight pump that has been shown there, the pump alone, what is the cost of that pump? It is not as per what my colleague there has, Mr. Kato has indicated of over 7 million. No, the pump alone could be costing around 4.2, 4.5 million. Okay? But what was provided was a full system. A pump together with panels, together with delivery pipes, together with a tank. Now, when you combine all that, that is what forms a system. And I look at what was quoted, some of the prices, for example, for the submersibles, the cost can go up to 18 million, 25 million, 35 million. When you say that the costs for surface pumps, for example, at my side where we deal with the smallholder farmers, the smallest pump is costing 1.5 million. And farmers are buying that, especially those that have 1 acre, 2 acres, which is the majority of the population that we have. So when you look at the issue of cost, let's not use, and maybe to mention the 1.5 has a full system, including the drag hose of 100 meters, which is an affordable system for most of the farmers. But what I've seen is the challenge I would want to note from the project is a pain to the private sector, the delay in payments. Most private sector players would not want to join these schemes because of the delays that happen in terms of what? Payments. So you supply a system, and to get your payment, you take 4, 5 months. That means for you, what you'll have to do when a government comes, you'll actually have to overprice your system. And at the end of the day, the farmer is the one who is actually going to cough that pain because the contribution is going to be looked at as high. For example, 7 million for a pump, which would have cost perhaps 8 million because there are going to be delays in payment. So if we solve that problem, and maybe what my other colleague has mentioned, personal interests, perhaps the cost would come down. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, members, for your presentations and clarifications on some of the issues that have been raised. I call upon IFPRI team to respond to some of the issues. Then we shall go to the next session, and after that session, we shall, I think, have lunch. IFPRI team, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Let me ask my colleague to make a comment, go into the field with me.
Thank you, Edward. I don't know. Good afternoon, members. My name is George. I work with Homeland Data Services. We are glad to have conducted the data collection for the project from IFPRI. And I wanted to, there was an issue about the repairs, which the engineer was saying. He wonders why that is true. But the reality is that when we talk to the farmers physically, many of them indicated not to be aware, actually, of where to find the mechanics. So probably there was not enough sensitization and help, because this was a new thing for probably some of the farmers. And so that is a reality that we found from the field, and really farmers are struggling with this. And even there was an issue of installation. Some farmers were claiming the equipments were dropped to them and were not helped in installation. And therefore there was a struggle. Probably some of them were not installed well. And when we talk about issues of breakdown, that could have been the reason. And it goes back to the selection of the service providers and how fit were they to provide the services in the first place. So I want to confirm that these are really real evidences that the farmers, where some of these problems are really coming from the farmers themselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you, George.
Yes, thank you so much for your replies. So we are here for validation of our findings, and I think that you gave us question about the why. I think I've got the why already from the audience. About the why, I think I've got those answers already from the participants. Otherwise, I don't have much to comment on much of this. Odeke, we were asking about the profitability of the solar pump versus the other pumps. That's something we have done at IFPRI, maybe not for Uganda, but for other countries. That's something maybe we need to invest in. Otherwise, I think I enjoy the feedback we are getting here. It's not enrich our report. Thank you very much.
Whoops, just very short responses. I mean, again, I think you've complemented the picture. When we said the pump, we meant the system. You know, we can just always say system, but then some people don't know what is the system. But we always refer to the system. And I agree the cost, because it's a complex system, so that is what the cost is. But I think you can look into opportunities to reduce it, right? So do you always need the tank? You know, do you always need this long pipe system? I mean, it depends on the source. The more you develop, it will only be wells, because, you know, the people with access to surface sources are very limited. So it will only be wells, and then, you know, they just put a pipe in, a short pipe. You have your pump, submersible is probably also the future. And so I think you can trim some of the costs. So I think, I think you should look into that, because, you know, these pumps are being used, the systems are being used now all across Africa. And I think you can also look at some cost options from elsewhere. And I showed the Ghana one, you know, where we assumed, again, a high-end system, and it wasn't cheap. But there is also the issue, as we've already heard, you buy a cheap system, which you can, but then you might much faster run into problems and it won't last. In terms of involving the community, I think that is a very big issue that has to be addressed, because you know, this is a shared source. Close to surface water is a shared water source, and the groundwater is a shared water source. And so really engaging the community and explaining what community benefits are. It's clear that not everyone can afford the system, which is also why, you know, it was great to hear that there's a suggestion to provide domestic tap water from, if you already have the tank, or the farmer said, you know, he was ready to provide water to other farmers. So, you know, making this a community, involving the community is essential. And as I've mentioned, also groundwater governance. So we've done a lot of work on groundwater governance in India and also in Ghana and Ethiopia. So the community has to come together and understand, if we use the groundwater in this way, you know, there could be a risk of depletion, or you have to now develop a bigger well, a deeper well, because, you know, resources, you use more resources, so you're basically reducing the groundwater table. So this information has to be also provided to farmers. Uganda has, you know, relatively abundant water resources compared to, let's say, Ghana, or many of the other countries where those systems are going in, but there will always be immediate impacts on local depletion. It just happened. There's just no way around that. So understanding what the government policies are and the government institutions for groundwater management is really essential, and bringing the community in. On this issue, did they irrigate before or not? I wouldn't worry too much. As the farmer said, it's a green option. And most of the options before were not green, or they were manual, which were very labor intensive. So we said 33% were irrigating. It's not a bad thing. What we just wanted to show is that the national average is 2%. So all in all, you will get, unsurprisingly, more people who are already irrigating because they already had a water resource. There's nothing wrong. It's not a bad thing. In terms of what they did before, I think we said 14% had a pump before. So you can imagine about half of them used the pump before and the other half didn't. So I think the data is quite straightforward. Yeah, and because we want to hear, I mean, sorry, and I think the one other thing, yeah, we have to reiterate, you know, we're talking about a country where we didn't have irrigation technology distributor in rural areas or in rural towns. Now we have engineers, we have a lot of capacity built up as part of this program. And those are really, you know, quite traumatic additional benefits that didn't exist and would have developed much slower. Some of them would have developed, but would have developed much slower without this U-Gift experience. And so really, I think now the question is, if you do U-Gift 2, where can you, I mean, I think you definitely have to target better. We have to reach poor farmers, and it can be done by selling water, providing water. I mean, otherwise, why did 2/3 of the farmers expand the area? It's because they had enough water to do so. Even so, the system was sized, they were able to develop area. Alternatively, they could provide water to other farmers. And yes, it's less likely to get move the pump and rent the pump out, but there's a lot of these pumps on wheels. They do exist, so it's also feasible. Plus, there are more and more companies also providing irrigation as a service. So, you know, maybe, you know, those systems can also be supported. So that could be one of the farmers who benefited from this system, or just companies that are already operating in this space. And I think we more or less, because you can already address all of your questions, I think we are more or less okay, and we'd rather want to hear from a few more farmers and technology providers, because they're here in the room and they can maybe answer a few more questions of what this system is doing for them, for their livelihoods, and what it has changed since they have acquired this mostly solar irrigation system, and also some of the technology providers, how they think, how can we overcome the challenges, I think, that have already been mentioned quite clearly. So I suggest we move into that last session.
Thank you so much, Claudia, and the House for nice deliberations. The next session is on a policy panel. It's kind of a structured discussion where we are engaging different stakeholders, and we'll request to have like 5 participants for this. We'll be asking them some few questions related to what has been presented. Then the House is also actually welcome to give their submissions or kind of support what has been discussed. So I request to have members from the donor or the funders, members from governments. I talked to Engineer Tondo. He has already selected Dr. Issa and Mr. Aaron Orlando. Yes, I'll get one farmer from Kamwenge, and perhaps one of the representatives from the traders that are involved in solar pumps. Kindly, I request that you turn over. We shall add, I will move so that we have more. Yes, Prof. Please.
You make life very hard for us evaluators when you don't do baselines. You just jump in the field, and then after 5 years, you call us and say, tell us what is happening. Evaluations really, engineer, need baselines. If you didn't do a baseline, you got this wrong right from the beginning. To the bank, Dr. Kunda, don't give these people money if they don't do baselines. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Okay, thank you so much, members. We need a representative from Ministry of Water, if is anyone around. Engineer Shakman, I'm told, is around. Please, you can join the panel. Thank you, members. We are actually coming to the second last session of the first workshop, which was dissemination of findings in regards to solar panel irrigation pumps. So I've invited these members here, asked them a few members. I request that we come together. We have a team. There are different stakeholders that are involved in the system. And without wasting time, perhaps I'm going to look at 4 different aspects. 1, benefits of the system. 2, the challenges, both before the implementation and after. Then we shall look at gender equity, how the system was, the solar pumps were distributed, were women considered, and what percentage. Then perhaps sustainability that has been discussed by most of us. So much as I'll ask these members to give us their submissions in regard to that issue, I'll also request the House to chip in at some point if you have any burning issue in related to those areas, to chip in and ask whatever you feel you need to, to be heard or shared by the House. So without wasting time, let us start with maybe the success stories, the benefits. We have a farmer here who is representing other farmers. She can tell us what has been the success stories in regards to the solar pump irrigation systems. What have you benefited as a farmer? What do you have? What do you want the House to hear? And perhaps briefly can talk of whatever challenges that you're experiencing as a farmer. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, the modulator. I'm by names of Tsime Doreen. I'm a farmer from Kamwenje district, and I'm dealing in coffee. I'm a coffee farmer. So I'm going to talk about the benefits of the solar powered irrigation system. Before we got this system, okay, let me take you back. Before we got this system, we were using the manual way of irrigating, and it was really hectic, time consuming, and cost consuming, because we had to hire people to fetch water, go irrigate the farm. But when we got this solar system, it made our lives much more better. How? We're able to we are using a hose pipe. By using a hose pipe, it made our work very easy, because someone just has to use a hose to come and irrigate the coffee. It made the work easier. It made it more time saving. And it also helped because when you're irrigating, let me say like in a week, you can be able to irrigate like a plant, a coffee plant, maybe like more than twice, which wasn't the case before because by the time you go to fetch water to come and what, you just maybe give it like once in a week. But when we go the solar system, we're able to, okay, the plant is able to be irrigated many more times than it was before. So it has really helped us in terms of having good yields because when coffee needs a lot of water. When you irrigate it, you're able to have, when it's flowering, the flowers stay there, they don't fall off. Because once it's dry, the flowers fall off. And once the flowers fall off, there are no seedlings. There are no seeds that are going to give you the coffee what? Coffee berries. So it helped us to have those good yields because we are irrigating and the farm is, the plants are looking healthy. So maybe on the challenges, they are there, but they're not very much. Most of it was talked about, the pumps or the system failing. And once they fail, we don't have like a point where we can run to get help. We don't have like an information desk where we can get maybe assistance. They tell you maybe you get this part from this place. We don't have it and would like to have it. Because just imagine once a system breaks or something breaks, you have to move from Kamwenje up to Kampala. It becomes so costly and even it derails our work behind. So if we had maybe like an information desk, like at the district or maybe like in the region, it would make our work much easier. You don't have to waste time moving to Kampala. You just go to maybe like Mbarara or you go to Kamwenje in town, you get your systems repaired and saves time. I think basically that is it. The system has helped us. It is good. We thank the government of Uganda through the U-Gift. It has really helped us. So we are grateful.
Thank you so much, Madam Farmer from Kamwenge. She talked about, we appreciate the success stories and regarding the challenges, I think we've all had it. I think it's the same issue that was raised by the fellow farmer there. However, one of the engineers, Engineer Titus, mentioned of having technical people on regional level. When it comes to repairs, she's from Kamwenge and her concern is the time and the distance she travels from Kamwenge to have the pump repaired in Kampala is really compromising with the services of the system. And I'm told we have, I think, a commercial officer from Kamwenge around. The commercial officer from Kamwenge is around. Or he left. A production officer. Yes, production officer from Kamwenge. I don't know whether you have any concern to what she's raising regarding failure to get access where she can have pump worked on. Thank you. I request that we make it brief so that we move to other members.
Thank you, sir. I think we have a senior irrigation engineer at the district, and of recent we have trained technicians. I think we shall try to get down what to do, but this one is for the ministry. Maybe we are talking about these companies which were pre-qualified. For the next program, in case of any successor program, I think we need to scale down. We need to scale down and then you give this responsibility for identifying the suppliers to be managed by the district. You know, the center usually say that the districts don't have capacity. But we have a project which was implemented by the Office of the Prime Minister under the Refugee Desk. It gave all the responsibilities to the community. Actually, it was not even the district, it was the community. There is a community project of a bridge, 6 billion, which was implemented by the community and is doing very well than the central government projects. So for the successor program, I think let us give the responsibility. Now we're talking about the parish development model. Let us put everything down so that we can succeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Production Officer from Kamenge, for your quick response. Our other concern, I don't know whether regarding the success stories, I think the farmers have already mentioned about that. We may not go back to that, and the challenges have equally been raised. So I request to maybe go to another key area. I need to find out from the ministry regarding the issue of gender equity. I know you have different frameworks, different protocols that we are using to select these beneficiaries on the district level. So could you give us more light on how the protocols were working, which frameworks, and how those frameworks were, implementing the selection criteria regarding the gender equity issue, where the women-headed households considered, or they were just depending on the mercy of the people that were distributing the solar pumps, or were they aware, were there sensitization, were they aware? We need to know why the turn-up and usage of these solar pumps is really low, especially on the female-headed households. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Once again, I'm called Bianca Issa Hassan. I'm the District Production Office of Korea and Local Government, one of the districts that is implementing the gift. Now, on the issue of gender equity, yes, we have women beneficiaries. Of course, majority are men. Maybe what I can do is to just give you a picture of what happened, because we started with sensitization of communities using radio stations and also using community meetings. Then we had sensitization of leaders, local political leaders, the councillors who have the constituents of both genders. We made sure that they are well sensitized about this project, the benefits, and how people can enroll. After we had done that, then the people who are interested expressed interest. Now, among people expressed interest, both women and men did. But of course, majority are always men. Farm visits, now when it comes to farm visits, we visit all of them if the number is not really enormous. And this one, of course, is done by extension workers. They visit these people to look at the suitability, it's like a feasibility that you have applied, but is your farm feasible? For example, do you have a water source of a minimum, in fact, of a maximum of 700 meters away from where you want to irrigate? So those are things we look at. And after looking at those, we, of course, we tick the box that, yeah, I think you're viable. Now, next, now maybe we may have a challenge when it comes to income or money disparities between men and women. Next is that you have to pay now a commitment for 1 million. Yeah, you are like, okay, yes, just to show us that because when you look at the expression of interest, engineer showed there of 88,000, but we have given the system to about 5,000. That's in fact those who have benefited a very small percentage as compared to expression of interest. And expression of interest doesn't necessarily mean that those people are really ready to take up the system. So you pay 1 million. Now when it comes to paying $1 million, we don't discriminate whether a man or a woman. It's a first come, first serve basis. So whoever is ready pays the $1 million. And once you've paid that $1 million, it becomes an obligation on us as a government, now the local government which is implementing, to ensure that you benefit. Now, that's when the contractors will go there, do the assessment, and then tell you that the system we want costs so much, and your 25% will be so much. So depending on that, on the affordability of the system, if the money is there too much beyond the capacity of many women, definitely will not take it up. That's why many men took it up. But what I can say in Kiriandongo, we have a substantial number of women who have managed to benefit, to pay that money, and mainly those ones have come from the pastoralist communities, the cattle keepers. We have cattle keepers, women, of course, who have cows themselves. She can sell like 3-4 cows, and she raises the 25%. So most of the women who have benefited, they're women on the side of the livestock. The other ones are women who are well off, who have women who are educated, who have jobs, who have money. Those ones have also been able to benefit. But what I can concede is that we didn't have proportions, preset proportions, that this number should be women, this number should be men.
Thank you so much, Issa. Perhaps you can pass the microphone to your colleague, Aaron. Before Aaron, maybe in addition to that, as you give us your presentation, do you think women should have had a special subsidy higher than the 25%? Perhaps you can give us more light on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, moderator. And good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Alan Orlando. I work with the Ministry of Agriculture, senior engineer, together with my colleagues here. First and foremost, moderator, I want to thank the team, IFPRI team, led by Mr. Kato and Claudia, for the study they have done. He has given us very good insights on the situation on ground, which some of them, of course, are not surprising, but it gives us something to think about. Now, on the issue of gender, at the inception of the program, we didn't really have a preset target for the gender issues, the gender, like men are going to be this, women are going to be this. We had a set criteria that we put across for which we would attract specific farmers. One of them is that the farmers should be able to afford the equipment. And that's why when we bring out on the issue of subsidies, the farmer should be able to co-fund to bring a small portion of their payment, and the bulk of the payment is handled by the government. The other technical issues of access to water, access to land, and the threshold, all those formed the selection criteria. Now, the studies that the report that we have seen here regarding the gender inequalities, first and foremost, reaching out to the 20% women is a very big achievement. But a program like micro-scale irrigation is not going to come and solve all the inequalities, social inequalities that we have in the country, which have been there for a long time. But we bring in issue aspects within the program that help women to have an upper hand. And that's why you've seen, at least we have 20% of women households and women represented. How? We made it a point in the program that if a man is coming to express interest, he has to come with his wife. Now, that is not picked up in the study, but when we are collecting expression of interest, the husband has to be together with the wife. And in other words, we are trying to bring in the aspect of ownership within the family. So when you see that 20% women, women-headed households, are the ones who express interest, it doesn't mean that women were left out. For those men who we are seeing in the demographic here that expressed interest, they had the backing of their wives. So we really think that we tried to be inclusive in the program. And as it was mentioned, the youth being left out was not something intended. But as you see, the criteria itself kind of has its own elimination mechanisms. You have to have access to land. You have to have access to water, have access to finances to be able to co-fund. I think moving forward in the UGIFT 2, looking at all this, what we have learned here, I think if we are to do things better, we would definitely think about how to have incentives to attract these marginalized people. For example, the women and the youth. We are going to come through and think about how best to ensure that they express interest and then they receive irrigation equipment. Also, aside from that, the study has been very good in giving us a few insights, but I wanted to mention where we are coming from as a country and why we conceived the micro-scale irrigation program. 4 or 5 years ago, at the ministry, the focus of irrigation development was on large scale and medium scale irrigation. We were leaving out the smallholder farmers who were working individually. Large scale irrigation and medium scale irrigation requires expansive land to be in one place and having several farmers within one place and a large expanse of land. But we know very well that's not the situation. We have vast water resources spread across the country and different smallholder farmers in different areas. Now, this is what caused us to conceive the micro-scale irrigation program. And this program was targeting individual farmers. Now, the aspect of water sharing that was raised here, water sharing and selling of water, really is a very big challenge considering the farmers were individually expressing their interest and co-funding for their own systems with water which is on their individual plots of land. But it's something for us to still think about because where we are going, and it's already being done, the group irrigation systems, where we have a certain number of farmers within a specific locality, maybe 10, covering 10 hectares, we can have those water sharing arrangements where farmers can share water. So that's where we're coming from with the micro-scale irrigation program and how it was conceived. Now, the constraints that we are trying to target under the micro-scale irrigation program is one, finances. How do we make equipment accessible and affordable to farmers? And that's how we came up with the idea of the subsidies. And then the technological choices. Under the program, we have 3 technology choices: field application mechanisms, drip, sprinkler, drag hose. And all these on market come at different costs. And they are supposed to be, under the program, we put in that they are supposed to be powered by either petrol or solar powered systems. Now, on the issue of the finances, we subsidized solar more because it's more expensive. Now, that brings me to the question, to the discussion on affordability. Colleagues, If you had a misconception that irrigation was cheap, unfortunately, it's not the case, and the engineers know it. Irrigation is an investment. You have to put in some money. You have to put, and it depends on even the acreage that you want to irrigate. And that's why we are seeing different costs for different acres. So that addresses the constraint that we had under financing. We had to address the issue of knowledge and capacity. My senior, the project coordinator, mentioned that we had to bring on board senior agricultural engineers. Now, the issue of the technological issues that we are having right now is because we have expanded at scale. And we expect these issues to happen. But the ministry is not seated. We are ensuring that we have senior agricultural engineers everywhere and that they are providing the necessary technical services to farmers. I want to leave it at that and allow my other colleagues to come in and also contribute. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Dr. Enid has a concern. Maybe we can hear from her regarding the presentation. Before we proceed, we need to use less than 10 minutes because we need to break up for lunch.
Yes, thanks, and thanks to every presenter for the good work and the project for the good progress. I just want to follow up on the delivery models of this irrigation. I mean, currently the ministry is promoting the ownership under small irrigation. And as we're discussing issues of challenges of maintenance, capacity building kept coming up. I'm looking at this as a government intervention that is looking at scaling up, not starting with a handful of farmers. And therefore, I would like to hear what the thoughts of the engineers, whether a private-led delivery model can be an option, whereby you don't even need subsidy. You need an interested investor to come and create a facility and sell the water. You can actually pay rent to the small-scale farmers, and this would actually address the issue of gender. And gender is not only women, it is also the poor, the marginalized. But if they can afford a small rent, they can be able to access the service. Is it by design from the engineer perspective? Is it feasible? And let me tell you, the problem of managing irrigation is also speciality. And recently we are installing irrigation at Kawanda, and it's not that any technician can come and do it. They have to be well trained in managing it. But a private person would be able to incorporate that within their business and manage the repairs and the delivery. But is it a feasible option?
Thank you, Doctor. I don't know whether you're responding to what she's raising or we are running short of time. I'll just give you 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. We've had all the challenges that the project is raising. I think when we look at how the design is we only have one senior agriculture engineer at the district. And when you look at the project, there is huge task to do. Looking at the finances, the deliverables, the farmers, and how you organize all that structure. So as you try to finalize and end the project, and we are leaving all the tasks, only one individual, the senior agriculture engineer. The DPO, the agriculture extension officers are not well versed with that. How is that going to be sustainable? Thank you. That is a human resource gap as well.
Thank you so much. Let me welcome a question from this gentleman for.
Thank you very much.
Make it brief, kindly.
Okay. I want this to form part of the recommendations for the study. Moving ahead, maybe if that upscale this program. And I want to capture insights in 30 seconds. I believe the ultimate goal for this program to promote irrigation is to improve food production. And I want you to ask you these 3 questions. Who are the most majority in farming participation, women or men? Farming participation in this country, who are the majority, women or men? Who take the biggest share of the agricultural labor, women or men? Women or men? Who take the biggest share of food production output, women or men? By statistics, it ranges from 70 to 90, that is women. So the majority is? Who takes the biggest share for cash crop production, women or men? It is men. But when you read some statistics, women are approximately 50, so it's more of like 50-50. And I ask, did we miss anything in terms of the approach to deliver this project to see that it creates a lot of inequities, inclusiveness between men and women? I believe we can do better. I believe we can do better. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your concerns. We have less than 5 minutes to conclude this, but before, maybe let me, my brother in the
greetings.
Before I move on, I just wanted to find out from you as one of the suppliers, right, of the solar pump irrigation, the solar irrigation pumps. What challenges are you facing as a trader, and what do you think can be done to improve the system so that the panels, the systems can easily be accessed by the farmers? Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. Greetings, everyone. My name is Becca Kalema. I work with Water and Energy Solutions Uganda Limited, one of the implementing partners of the YouGift Pro project. We thank Dr. Claudia and Edward Scato for the initiative and all the work done. I have a few lines to put across and the challenges faced by some of us, the implementing partners, probably, maybe most of all the implementing partners. Number one is delayed payment. We are wondering why, because this is the World Bank money, it is there. So if the money is there, have 100% completed and handed over, why does it take 3 to 4 months to get my money? There is too much bureaucracy in getting money. This is very true, and most of you, people at the district, know this. Because everywhere you go for certificate, you know what will happen next. So really, the successor project, all YouGift to, let's look at how will the contractor or the implementing partner get his or her money in time. Let that be addressed. Number 2, Engineer Tondo, some of us faced a very big problem when it comes to issuing the freeze invoices for us to be paid. Most of us, our payments are actually, they are going to be in the next financial year. Because of delayed, we cannot issue IFPRIs. Why? Because even after issuing LPO, they will say, we need an FDN for you to get paid. Engineer Tondo, this has been our biggest challenge, and you know it, and you've always been promising to have it those are the 2 biggest challenges. As I wind up in my lines of recommendations, I recommend that in the next YouGift 2 or the successor project, we look at a turnkey project. How? Because to me, I understand that an irrigation system, the heart of the irrigation system is the water source. A reliable water source, not actually a water source. It is a reliable water source. So meaning the project scope, the percentage of the project scope, a water source contributes almost 55% when we consider the project scope. So I recommend that we do a turnkey project to a farmer, not to give how that a farmer will do an assessment, what is the required water source, blah, blah, all this, the pumping, irrigation, all that. We cost 100 million. Then let her or his contribution be that percentage of 100 million. Other than say you do your water source. Most of them come up with water sources that you look at it and cry. Number two, the recommendation number 2 is the follow-up. You see, however much, yes, the government has given us money, but you also, as the government, you Engineer Tondo, you need to follow up after 1 year of implementation and over the project. Is the government money still working? Because really, we've seen some you gift the last financial year. You find the system was totally abandoned. It needs a complete over repair 100%. I can't mention this, but there are so many where they've done repairs of irrigation systems that were done last year in September. So let's you Engineer Tondo have a team that at least will have to follow up at least 2-3 years. How the farmers, the beneficiaries were 30. Are they all still using that system? Or others are going to sell after one season? You find the solar pump was sold, sold, the panels were sold, everything, even the tank was sold. I'm telling you from experience and what we are seeing. So let's those be addressed in Engineer Tondo. Kindly follow up on the IFPRIs. We have suffered a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's almost lunchtime, members. Yes, I will only request one question from him.
Yeah, thank you so much. James Isubuga Chiengo is my name. I just want, I work with RIMA East Africa. I'm also a supplier in this U-Gift program. I just want to supplement a few things. There is something that was earlier mentioned about some systems are delivered and not installed. I think it was from a colleague around here. I want to just give some brief background and some experience. When you look at the farmers that we are dealing with, more so in central here and a bit of west, there are farmers that are not residing on their farms. So you have an experience where a farmer lives in Kampala and they have a farm in maybe Kabale. And the time of implementation comes, you communicate to them that you want to deliver material, and then you do your installation. And they tell you, I am not available, and I want you guys to install when I am available. So it would be at their own convenience, but as a contractor also, you have a lot of sites you are handling. And maybe you have already deployed that site and you want sites to be complete before you move to another area. So it has a cost implication. And at the end of the day, you find out that these farmers won't appear even after a month. So that's why the question of my colleague is very, very paramount. Let's find out why. Because this is a contract that is design, supply, and install. Now, the obligation of a supplier is actually to design, supply, and install. They cannot fail to install. That's why the why bit is very, very important. Find out from these farmers. Some of them will not be honest, but there are a lot of challenges out there with the farmers themselves. And you find that we contractors are having a lot of problems with them. And at the end of the day, we end up reporting to the senior agriculture engineers that, you know what, I'm failing to install this farmer. deal with them. So those are the farmers that you'll find have such complaints, and at the end of the day, the blame will go to the supplier, and yet it's not right. Thank you. I wanted to supplement that.
Thank you so much for your generous submission. It is really paramount. We are coming to one more key aspect to talk
One
about.
important thing I was talking about the IFPRIs. Now this IFPRI thing, Engineer told is not going to help you. Yeah, no, I gave you a false promise. The IFPRIs, that is the law. It came in effect about a month ago. Any supplier who is supplying government must provide an FDA. You get on the system, URS system, you fill in the details of what you have supplied, and then you get the FDA, you submit it to finance, you will be paid. Don't even waste time that waiting for him. That's what all the suppliers who are supplying us, that's what they are going through.
Thank you. We have one more aspect to talk about, which is sustainability of this project in the event that World Bank and government are putting out from funding. What next? I will request my brother from Ministry of Water to give us his experience and what he expects in the event that we are depending on natural water. What happens when the dams dry up? What plan B do you have for the farmers to ensure that the systems keep on working? And we need also to scale up. As government, I think the system or the project needs to be scaled up to other districts that are not experiencing the solar pump irrigation systems. What do you think should be done to ensure that the project is sustained as well as scaling up other districts? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, my voice may not be very clear. I've been down. I came knowing that I'm going to be a participant, but I don't know how I ended up here. It's quite an ambush, but still very good. I'm Engineer Godfrey Ashakimano. I work as a principal engineer in the Ministry of Water and Environment under the Water Development Directorate. I worked with Tono. Yes. And that, I think that time was underwater for production. I've been listening very attentively on the presentations, and I've heard a lot about YouGift project. And as the Minister of Water and Environment, we have actually been also trying to borrow some ideas from there, especially on the aspects of co-sharing, because it encourages ownership of a project. As a ministry, we are moving very much towards renewable energy, solar-powered irrigation, and also for domestic purposes, because although we have high capital investment in terms of operation and maintenance, it becomes easier for any beneficiary who installs it. So as a ministry, we have a new project, I think you've heard about it, Nexus Green, which is crossing all over the country, and it is entirely solar powered, both for domestic and also for irrigation. We are coming up, it's coming to close, but now we are coming up with phase 2, which is targeting only coffee farmers. So you can see as a ministry, we are also moving in the direction of solar powered, because we feel it is something that will be self-sustaining in the end. But for you to benefit, we are also encouraging, if a farmer applies for support, has to commit on providing something in a way that either you provide a reservoir tank as a commitment that you actually committed to an investment, or you have a water source that is sustainable. I felt I would be able to talk about water sources because it follows under our docket. And if I listened attentively to one of the farmers, I think when he was speaking, I was scratching Titus telling him you are going to be on the panel there, not knowing it's me to respond to that. And I told him, when he mentioned that he paid 7 million, I actually told Titus that must be a successful farmer who actually needs support. And looking at the challenges he has gone through of buying a pump from somebody, disappears, he follows up, nowhere to be seen. I think it's something we as a government, we need to pick interest into. I was telling him, please pick details of your service provider. We locate where the service provider is. And then if the minister blacklisting that service provider, we shall do it. That one, give it to Titus Otono, they will take it up. And that is only for one farmer. But there are others we don't know. So I think it will be good. I've said we need to monitor and see how are the farmers doing. In such a case, you'll get to know all of those service providers who are running away. Then I listened attentively to my colleague, I think the one in the blue, you talked about getting abstraction permits. I think you had he's the one who mentioned it is the responsibility of Director Water Development to issue abstraction permits. So in a way, if you see the challenges of water drop down, especially for the other farmer, you may not find the water levels underground went down, but you don't know. You may think it is an installation, but actually there is no water. So we encourage all farmers, at least before you drill or you install, you get an abstraction permit, because you don't know, I may be here, I drill a borehole. My colleague drills 150 meters away, another borehole. By the aquifer down, the recharge shifts from this other person to yours, and then it dries yours. So we do it as a regulatory function to ensure that you do not have a problem with your installation, because once water disappears, then it is wastage of resources having a white elephant in place. So going back to the question on sustainability part of it, of course, currently I'm in charge of operation and maintenance to ensure that we have sustainable infrastructure in place. And we are coming up with, we are brainstorming sustainable management of solar powered irrigation and also water supply. So it's quite of a challenge. Do we use a private water operator? Do we use water user committees? Do we use irrigation water user association? So all of that we are brainstorming on how we can have a sustainable management in place. But of course, to encourage You Gift project, it's a very good government intervention. You are providing a service to the people. So when you finish this irrigation scheme, micro-scale irrigation, who is going to manage it to ensure that it is sustainable? So those are aspects we are coming up with. And of course, as Minister of Water, working closely with the MAIF, we are trying to brainstorm and see which management model should we choose to ensure, if it is small scale, maybe use an individual operator to manage the scheme, and then maybe the farmers can be able to contribute a small fee to sustain, to run the system, just operations, to ensure that at least there is someone who operates it, maintains it, and also is paid small fee, small money from that irrigation scheme. It is something we are coming up with, and of course, on the medium and large scale irrigation schemes, we are trying it in Gwengaju. We have put, I think, in place an operator with the water user committee, irrigation water user association. Once it works out and farmers pay, then we shall be able to know, are we able to meet operation and maintenance of the system, and the operator is able to be paid something small. So we can also think about it in terms of micro-scale irrigation. Someone who maintains it, can the farmer around be able to pay something to the person to be able to run the system? Briefly, I think that's what I want to talk about.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, members, for your positive submissions towards our key areas in regards to solar irrigation pumps and solar irrigation systems. I will welcome maybe one question or comment from the members, then we go for lunch. Um,
The challenge is we have another meeting starting at 2. And if you don't go for lunch, you will miss I mean, those who want to participate in the soil health event, they will maybe not have enough time for lunch. I don't know how quick lunch is. So I don't know how you want to do it. I hope you go to lunch together, and whoever has a question will go with the person who can provide the answer. So that's the idea. We also have all of your email addresses. And if you want to, we can also bring you in contact, but that everyone would have to agree. And then we can continue to have this engagement. I'm just seriously worried if people want a bathroom stop and they want to have lunch. And for those who want to come back at 2 for a soil health session, then we cannot continue. We cannot have everything. And we have some other people coming in for 2 o'clock. And we have we also have an online viewing opportunity for 2 o'clock. So that's why we cannot just come late. So that is our challenge. Otherwise we can continue, but please, so I'd like to thank everyone for being super attentive, engaged, interested, for all of your contributions. Everyone made this a much better and more interesting and a more successful event. It's interesting to hear all of the benefits, all of the challenges. This is a long journey, right? So if we look back in 20 years.
Thank you so much. We have lunch. It's at Lower Akis, and the coupons are with Adrabo at the main entrance. Pick a coupon and go for lunch. Thank you so much. Then we have just a small communication. We need to, Professor Kato, Professor Bashasha, Mr. Superiano, and one principal engineer from MAIF. We have a small interaction with the media. Kindly, in this lunch break, give us like 5 minutes. Thank you. The members that have raised their names, kindly stay behind and interact with the media briefly.